Filthy Neighbor. A Bad Boy Next Door Romance Audiobook. By Michelle Love and Scarlett King. Chapter 1. Tina.
Sitting in my new sunroom, sipping coffee and clearing out the usual pile of awkward DMs, I pause when I hear the familiar sound of the back door slamming next door. My pulse skips. It's 7 a.m., and the Brooklyn rooftops are glowing with soft pink and gold. But I'm not up this early for the view, at least not the skyline. My favorite show is about to start, and it's not on TV. Jimmy, my next-door neighbor, has made waking up early entirely worth it. The only mornings I sleep in are when he's out of town. Otherwise, I'm always here, tired but ready, to catch a glimpse of his routine. He steps into his perfectly groomed garden, with its fruit trees and quiet hot tub, shrugging off his robe like clockwork. Then, in nothing but fitted black boxer briefs, he begins his workout, completely focused, completely unaware, or so I assume. I don't know what he does when winter rolls in. I've only been here since April, after inheriting the house from my grandma. I first spotted him by accident one morning from the attic window, admiring his careful pruning, of course, and then he stepped out. And I was hooked. Jimmy is the kind of man I only admire from a distance. Towering, athletic, sharp-featured, and radiating confidence, he reminds me of a living statue, regal, commanding, impossible to ignore. And yes, his silhouette in those briefs leaves little to the imagination. Not that I'd ever do more than imagine. He's got those Mediterranean good looks that are just boyish enough to keep a guy his size from looking like a brute. Wavy, coffee-colored hair, smooth olive skin, and deep black eyes. I looked into those eyes once when we introduced ourselves, and felt as dizzy and weak-kneed as if I was about to go tumbling into them. He dresses well too, understated suits, tailored leather blazers, and when he wears jeans they fit perfectly to highlight his athletic build. I found him attractive fully dressed, but when I finally saw him exercising in the garden, I was completely captivated. It's only gotten worse since then. I dream of him at night. I spy on him by day, watching him exercise, tend to his garden and soak in the hot tub. I try to push myself to talk to him again, to find some excuse to start doing so regularly, but I just don't have the nerve. What would a man like him ever see in someone like me, a hopeless romantic with no real experience? Every brush I've had with love or intimacy has left me bruised. I haven't dared to date since I left home at 18. I wouldn't even know where to begin now. And with Jimmy, I just know I'd ruin it. I'd stumble over my words, second-guess everything, and probably scare him off before anything ever had a chance to begin. So I keep my distance. I watch. I wonder. I dream. Sometimes I ask myself if I'm just pathetic, or maybe worse. Maybe I'm hiding behind my fears, using fantasies as a shield. But then I look at him, really look, and a softer thought creeps in. Who could blame me? He's doing push-ups now, sunlight catching the lines of his back as his muscles move with practiced ease. The fitted black fabric hugs him like a second skin, and I watch, quietly mesmerized, wondering, like I do every morning, what it would be like to be closer to someone like him. And wishing just for once that I was brave enough to try. My therapist at the center would tell me to go talk to him. My therapist at the center, currently a delicate-featured Indian man who looks more like a kindergarten teacher than someone sent to evaluate my sanity, would ask me why I haven't dated, and suggest again that I'm not as recovered as I like to think. My therapist, however, is an idiot. Not everything can be chalked up to trauma. Some of it comes down to the fact that modern courtship just isn't what it used to be. These days, 9 out of 10 men who show interest in me begin conversations with comments that feel crass or completely inappropriate. And somehow, that kind of behavior has become normal. But I want something different. I want tenderness. I want to be wooed, not chased. I want something real after all the hardship I've been through. I've held on for the right person. And maybe that person is him. Through my open window, I hear Jimmy working out, the soft rhythm of his effort breaking through the quiet morning. The air is cool, tinged with the scent of blooming flowers, mixing with the warmth of my tea and the subtle stir of emotions rising in me. Every time he lifts himself over the pull-up bar, moving with strength and ease, a quiet ache builds in my chest. He's nothing like the loud, immature guys I've met, or the ones who try too hard. He seems calm, respectful, solid. I can't imagine him treating me the way I've been treated by others. Even when I stepped away from dating apps a month ago, the unwanted attention didn't stop. The messages kept coming, on Facebook, on old gaming profiles, even through my business site and Instagram. Every morning, I open my inbox only to remove another round of uncomfortable messages, comments that cross boundaries, or strange images I never asked for. I'm tired. Tired of trying to sift through it all, in hopes of finding someone genuine. Meanwhile, Jimmy is doing crunches on his slant board, sweat catching the light across his defined shoulders and chest. I find myself watching, my lips parting slightly, caught in the quiet awe of him. Does he date? I've never seen him with the same woman twice. Then again, just because I'm good at watching people doesn't mean I know everything. But I wouldn't mind the mystery, especially if it pulls me away from the noise of everything else. My Instagram, by contrast, is a peaceful space. It's all about the work I do with my small renovation company, Carson Renovations. My current home is also my first big project, my grandmother's brownstone. She left it to me, along with the seed that started this dream. Grandma was the one person in my family who always believed in me. There's nothing suggestive in what I post. Just me in oversized paint-covered overalls, hair tucked under a hard hat, goggles covering my eyes, pointing out work to my crew, reviewing plans, scraping wallpaper. Nothing flashy, nothing revealing. Still, that hasn't stopped the noise from coming. But maybe, just maybe, someone like Jimmy could silence it, if only for a moment. As I sort through my emails and DMs, hoping to find real work inquiries, I end up deleting 4 inappropriate photos, 2 awkward messages asking for fun, a dramatic rant from a guy who keeps making new accounts to bother me, and 6 marriage proposals from obvious romance scammers. Why? Honestly, what did I ever do to deserve this? Why? Seriously, what cosmic offense did I commit to deserve this? I look away from my phone, back down to the yard where the man I wish I could make notice me is doing martial arts katas of some kind all over his lawn. I watch him kick above his head, do splits, and practice strikes on an odd-looking wooden dummy he fashioned from a log. If I wasn't so enthralled with him, I would be frightened. He could break me like a twig. But somehow that just makes things hotter. Especially if he cares enough to hold his strength in check, at least until he can't anymore. It's been a long time since I looked at a man and felt something stir, something more than passing curiosity. But with Jimmy, it's different. I drink him in, every confident movement, every line of muscle and ease. And I don't just wonder what it would be like to be with him. I ache for it. But wanting him is easy. Figuring out how to cross that line between fantasy and reality? That's where I falter. What the hell am I going to do?
Chapter 2. Tina.
It's been a long, frustrating day. My kitchen is still in pieces. I'm blowing money on takeout every night that I can't afford, and every day there's been a new setback. Today, the range hood delivery was delayed. We ran out of tiles 9/10 of the way through covering the floor thanks to 2 missing boxes, and my business number got an obscene phone call. Now at least the floor is done and the caller is blocked. I'm ready to sleep almost right away. I force myself to eat some melon and cottage cheese from the office fridge I set up in the corner of my finished master bedroom. I shower off the dust and grime and wrap myself in a white silk robe, one of my few luxuries. Then I glance out the window. The lights are on at Jimmy's place and so far he's not using his hot tub. His beautiful backyard is dark. I saw him bring some blonde inside when we came back from buying more tile, and had to fight down jealousy. He's in there with her now, this anonymous pain, the luckiest woman in the world. I pour myself enough scotch over ice to make the bitterness go away, swallow it like medicine, and go to bed early. There's a shadow outside the window that shouldn't be there. The neighborhood lives under a blanket of fear at night. Mom and Dad and all the other moms and dads hide their kids away the moment the sun goes down. They draw their shades, lock doors and windows, and check on them 10 times a night. 4 kids have vanished in the last 2 months. Their bodies always turn up in the woods. Things are done to them, things that my parents won't tell me about. The kids in that neighborhood whisper during every recess, every lunch break, huddled in tight little circles like we're sharing secrets too awful for grown-up ears. They say it's a man in a wolf mask. He watches. He waits. He takes kids, young ones like us. Like I was at 10. Still untouched by the changes we don't even understand yet. The man in the wolf mask does things to those kids. And then he kills them. No one knows where he comes from. No one ever sees him coming. Only the silence left behind. The kids from our neighborhood talk at lunch about who it might be. They think it's one of the grown-ups who lives here, but who? We also talk about the weapons we keep under our pillows to keep us and our younger siblings safe. One of us steals a knife from the block in the kitchen every night. Another sleeps with a baseball bat. Yet another was given a screamer alarm by her mother and scared herself out of her socks, setting it off when she rolled over on it at night. Not me, I can beat them all. I know where Daddy keeps his gun. I don't like sleeping with a pistol tucked into my nightstand drawer, but I know Daddy won't protect me if the man in the wolf mask comes. Once my cold, distant parents warn me about something, I'm the one who is expected to avoid it. They don't like repeating themselves. Especially Daddy. So every night after they are asleep, I take the gun from his desk drawer and put it in my nightstand drawer. And every morning before they wake up, I bring it back. Daddy got drunk once and showed me how to take the safety off, how to hold it, and how to keep my finger off the trigger until I'm ready to fire. Daddy sleeps with Mommy on another floor of the sprawling old house, and I know he will not come if I scream for help, so I have his gun instead of him. And now there is a shadow outside my window that should not be there. I quietly pull the drawer open in the dark and fish the pistol out. It feels heavy and cold in my hand. I sit up with a gasp, the warm night air mixing weirdly with the cold sweat all over my skin. Catching my breath, I look around at my airy bedroom with its bank of windows, the gauze curtains blowing softly in the slight breeze, and relax. At least these days my flashbacks only happen in dreams. I'm trying to pull myself together when I hear something outside the window, a soft, strange sound. It repeats a moment later, then fades into a steady, breathy rhythm. Frowning, I tighten my robe around me and step closer to the window, scanning for the source. Jimmy's garden glows softly, with the strings of fairy lights he ran over the fences and some of the bushes and trees. A few paper lanterns shine their white gold radiance over the small deck where Jimmy has his jacuzzi. I can't quite see, the view from my bedroom isn't as good as from the sunroom, but I can tell that the jacuzzi is occupied. Don't stop, a woman's voice drifts through the air. I pause, uneasy, as a flicker of discomfort passes through me. Her words come again, soft and breathy. I step back from the window, unsure if I'm more embarrassed or unsettled. I hurry across to the sunroom and pull aside the curtains. The windows are already open. My phobia isn't so bad anymore that I worry about open windows as long as they are well above ground level. The attic bedroom and its adjoining sunroom can't be reached from the outside by anyone short of a mountain climber. I just remind myself of that fact whenever my nerves start acting up. My eyes land on the jacuzzi, and my breath catches. I can't see the woman clearly. Jimmy's crouched over her at the edge of the water, his broad frame blocking most of the view. Occasionally, I glimpse a hand reaching for him or a knee breaking the surface, but my focus is entirely on him. He's shirtless, muscles flexing as he moves in the bubbling water. He isn't saying anything, just a few low sounds that seem full of concentration. I don't need to see more to know what's going on. Heat rushes to my cheeks and I turn away quickly, pulse racing with something I don't want to name. He moves with intensity, muscles flexing as he leans over the woman, one hand braced above her while the other remains out of view. The effort in his body is clear, every line of him drawn tight with focus. Her voice rises, breathy and unsteady. Yes, just like that. I listen, not out of jealousy anymore, but curiosity. What must it feel like to be wanted that deeply? A few moments later, her words dissolve into quiet sounds, muffled as he leans down and kisses her. I look away, heart thudding with questions I can't quite form. I've never been with anyone in that way. I've also never experienced what others talk about with such wonder. I've always been shy about my body, reserved, uncertain. Even the few boys I briefly dated never seemed to understand me, let alone what I needed. I've heard people talk about what it's like. I've heard the sounds, the intensity. But I've never felt it for myself. I can't quite imagine what could feel so incredible it makes someone cry out in the middle of the night, waking the whole neighborhood. But I want to know. I want to experience it, with Jimmy. No one else. He lifts his head, voice rough with feeling. My turn, baby? I hurry to the far end of the sunroom, peeking through the curtains, trying to catch a better glimpse of his profile, instead of just that impressive silhouette moving in rhythm, though that's not a bad sight. What I really want to see is his face. I'm rewarded with the full view of his sculpted body, every muscle tense with focus as he moves with increasing intensity. I stare, fascinated. I can see everything, the curve of the woman's thigh, an arm wrapped around his back, but it's all part of the picture. His face is full of feeling, lips slightly parted, eyes closed as he moves faster and stronger. The connection between them is clear, pulsing with something powerful and overwhelming. He seems caught up in something intense, his breathing quickening and his face showing deep emotion. I watch from a distance, feeling a mix of curiosity and sadness. I press my knees together, imagining what it must be like for him, something I don't really understand yet. Come on, Jimmy, I whisper to myself, heart pounding. His body stiffens briefly, then relaxes, and a quiet sound drifts through the night. I step away from the window, a bittersweet smile on my lips. Sleep won't come for me tonight. I wish things were different. I have to find some excuse to talk to him. Something interesting. Something we have in common. I have no idea how to flirt, but I can start there.
Chapter 3. Jimmy.
I release a long breath, feeling the weight of my stress lift as I rest for a moment beside Mrs. Torrington. Those few quiet minutes after being close to someone are the only times I can truly relax, precious moments where my body finally eases. But the emptiness returns quickly, reminding me that I'm still alone, and none of these people truly belong to me. Mrs. Torrington, Marie, that's her name, and I have to be careful not to forget, lies peacefully on a towel on my deck, completely relaxed. She's a striking blonde in her late 30s, probably a few years older than me, and from the way she's behaving, it's clear she's been craving care and attention. She's so drowsy that I almost don't need the sedative, but I know better than to take the risk. I need her asleep for a little while I take care of something important. The tiny syringe is hidden inside the leather strap on my left wrist. Its needle is so fine, she doesn't even flinch as I gently give her the injection. Tonight, Mrs. Torrington is both my way inside her house and my alibi. She will likely wake up with her life changed tomorrow, though she has no idea. I smooth her tangled blonde hair back from her sleeping face and carefully carry her inside. I'll tuck her into the guest room bed and come back after I finish my task, making it seem like I've been there with her the whole time, quietly waiting for her to recover. As I do, I glance up and see the curtains of my neighbor's third-floor sunroom twitch slightly. I have to fight down a grin. Did you enjoy the show, shy girl? Some women have a peeping Tom. I have a peeping Tina. I'm luckier than those ladies, who usually have to get restraining orders against some creepy guy invading their privacy. It's much less threatening to have a shy, harmless young woman watching you with a quiet kind of admiration whenever she thinks you won't notice. That adorable neighbor means me no harm at all. In fact, her crush on me is so obvious it makes me smile. Tina really is just incredibly sweet, and the way she looks at me is a rare bright spot in my often dark and complicated world. I've kept my distance because I don't want to drag her into my world. It's dangerous and she could get hurt. But I can't help wondering if I could make every little daydream she's ever had about me come true. There's just one problem, and I think about it as I carry Mrs. Torrington inside. My little peeping Tina has already seen too much. I lay Mrs. Torrington down in the bed and head to the living room where she left her purse. Her third drink sits half finished, diluted with melting ice on the coffee table. Getting her to open up and betray her husband wasn't difficult, and now her guilt will keep her quiet. Still in my shorts, I grab a pair of black gloves from a box in the coffee table drawer and slip them on before opening her purse. I have a job to do. The problem is, Tina will probably notice me leaving. The poor girl is obsessed. Even if she's not watching, I know she'll hear the engine starting. Still, by the time I'm done, absolutely no one will be able to tie me to this job. In fact, they probably won't realize that it's a hit at all unless the coroner's a damn genius. Greg Torrington didn't hurt anybody. He just knows too much about my boss's operations and doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut, so he gets to die in his sleep. I did my homework. He's 68, drinks hard, and has a heart condition that he does nothing for. It will take the tiniest dose of the right sedatives to put him in a coma from heart failure. Marie will come home tingling all over from the best time of her life, take a guilty shower, and lie down next to a guy who will never wake up. Her morning won't be pleasant, even if he survives long enough for a stay on life support, but it's not like she won't have expected it, and in the end it's to her benefit. She married him for his money after all. But Tina will have seen Mrs. Torrington here, and Torrington is rich. His death will make the news. Tina's not stupid. If she recognizes my target's wife, the timing of our date will make her curious. I open the purse and pull out Marie's keys and cell phone after digging for it. She has her smart house lights, cameras, and alarm on remote, and as soon as I crack her screen lock password, the system is mine. I notice immediately that she already has the house cameras turned off so that her husband, who likely drank himself to sleep hours before, would not have a record of her sneaking out. How convenient. Now they won't have a record of me sneaking in, either. I dress in a nondescript dark blue tracksuit and matching hoodie, complete with a pair of joggers, headphones, and track shoes as camouflage. The whole time, my mind is wandering from the job to shy, hard-working little Tina, whom I'd love to seduce. The thought of her is enough to make me restless, even after 2 rounds earlier. I don't really know her story. After the old lady next door passed away, the place sat empty for a while, then a few months ago Tina moved in. She's been fixing up the place ever since. She has a small crew of helpers, but she's hands-on with everything. Other than that, she doesn't seem to have much of a life. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, I hear her suddenly cry out, then start sobbing. I think she has nightmares. Poor girl. What happened to her? I wonder, as I finish looking through Marie's purse. I carefully put everything back, exactly as I found it, except for her keys and phone. I'll replace those before she wakes up. I can already tell my thoughts will wander back to little peeping Tina, even while I'm with Marie. Somehow, knowing she was watching made everything feel more intense. As I head down the stairs to take the Torrington car out to their mansion on East 62nd, that same tug of unease pulls at me again, tight, persistent. How long until sweet, wide-eyed Tina becomes a problem? A liability? She watches me like I'm something more than I am, like I'm a story she wants to live out instead of just observe. And maybe it's flattering for a moment. But it won't stay innocent forever. What the hell am I supposed to do when that line starts to blur? Then it dawns on me, and I can't help but grin as I pull out onto the road. If I want Tina distracted, attached to me, and willing to do almost anything to keep me out of trouble, the answer's easy, and fun too. Why not give the lady what she wants?
Chapter 4. Tina.
Thursday morning is therapy morning. I'm down to only once a week now. Good thing too, because all it really does anymore is remind me of the past. And I would really rather move on. Thinking about things from your childhood over and over is more than a hindrance than it is help. Dr. Singh sits in his chair with his ankle on his knee, and his big brown eyes full of confusion. You're telling me that you have met someone, but you have not actually gone on a date or anything? Is this meeting someone, or is it just a crush? Forget you, Doc. It's not just a crush. I have talked to him, I just haven't gotten that far. And maybe I never will, but that's not his concern. He's the one telling me I need to try dating again. He's not the one deleting unwanted messages every morning or carrying around my memories. He frowns and sets both feet on the floor, leaning forward. He has slim little hands that he steeples as he considers me. It does sound like progress, but only token progress. And only in the one area. I should ask, how are your dreams this week? I sigh and sit back, looking away from him, out the window. They're digging up the street outside his office, and the noise of asphalt being cut winds through my temples. I'd rather talk about Jimmy. No, that's not accurate. I'd rather not be here at all. But he doesn't need to know that. Dr. Singh is a kind person who means well, unlike other therapists I have had over the years. He will be genuinely hurt if I tell him just how useless I feel that our sessions are. He's not a bad shrink, but it's been over 10 years. I've been a legal adult for almost 3. If talking about this crap was going to make it go away, it would have left by now, right? Well, I guess that makes sense. A crush is a much more pleasant topic than post-traumatic stress. He smiles a little indulgently. But I know what's coming, and am not even surprised when he goes on with, but I still have to ask. I roll my eyes. Yes, I'm still having nightmares. Yes, I still check the windows on the ground floor several times a night. He makes a note. Just the ground floor windows now? I blink at him, puzzled, then realize that I never told him that I finally talked myself out of sealing myself off in a stuffy house all summer. Yeah. I can leave the upper windows open at night. I've been at it for a few weeks now. Sorry, thought I mentioned it. He taps his lips with one finger, and then looks at me with a touch of regret in his eyes. I need to ask about the dreams. About the story that they always tell. Your memory of that night. You said that you can remember the ending now. I seize up inside, but take a deep breath and try to work through it. I can remember the ending, all right. It involves me putting a bullet into the wolf's head killer when I was just 10. I shot the guy in the wolf mask when he broke into my room. I told him to leave me alone, and he wouldn't, so I shot him. Do you remember who he was? He asked gently. The question stops me cold. Yeah, I sigh. I remember. I hadn't at first, not for years. I didn't understand why they wanted to try me as an adult, or why the world looked at me like I'd done something wrong. I didn't understand why my mother, the person who should have protected me, turned her back on me. But I do now. And I think anyone who blames me is wrong. I didn't kill a man. I stopped a monster. It just so happened the mask hid my father's face. I'll never forget the look in his eyes when the police pulled the mask off. Like a bad scene from a cartoon, only far more horrifying. People tried to spin it. Said it was a prank gone wrong. But when the evidence came in, when they saw what he had done to those 4 children, everything changed. It became clear I wasn't just reacting in fear. I was protecting myself. They said it was self-defense. I was cleared of all charges. But instead of being sent home, they locked me away anyway. Said I needed help. Said I was fragile. My mother never came for me. Only my grandmother stayed in my corner. She wrote to me until the day she got too sick to hold a pen. She passed before I was released at 18, but she made sure I had something to start over with. It took 3 years of fighting, but her will held. Do you want to tell me how it's supposed to help me? I ask suddenly, frustration building in my chest. Dr. Singh frowns. Sorry, what do you mean? I mean, How is talking about the worst moments of my life over and over supposed to fix anything? Nobody's ever explained that part. I stare out the window at the rising sun, and for a moment all I want is to be home, where it's quiet. Where Jimmy is. I know it's uncomfortable. But processing these emotions, his voice carries concern. He knows where this is going. I wave a hand. Forget processing. There is no right way to feel about the fact that my own father turned out to be someone dangerous. And that I had to stop him. If I hadn't, I'd have been next. I pause, then say it flatly, he made his choices. So did my mother. The only person who ever really cared about me was Grandma, and I owe her everything. The rest of them? I don't owe them a damn thing. I understand that you have sorted out your emotions in healthier ways. But you can't tell me it doesn't make you sad not to have had a real relationship with your parents. He's taking notes. I hate it when he does that. It reminds me that I'm under a court order, and that my freedom could be at stake. Sometimes. But those feelings are pointless. I can grieve all I want for the family I never really had, but that won't help me now. I would rather move on. I manage to keep my voice even, but his eyes go wide anyway. Are you asserting that you have somehow recovered because you have learned to cut your parents off emotionally? He readjusts his glasses on his nose. I'm saying that if I have to go to therapy, I'd like to spend the time working on something that will help me more than rehashing the worst night of my life. I give him a pleading look, hoping that it will soften my words a little. He sighs and finally nods. All right, we'll try that. So about this Jimmy person. How much do you really know about him? I smile. Not much yet. But I want to know everything. For once, I don't feel sick when I leave my therapy session. If I had, it wouldn't have been Dr. Singh's fault. The subject matter has done it to me every time before now. But today, no queasiness, no urges to weep or hide. I am a little tired, but that is all. I pull up outside my brownstone, when I notice a familiar tall figure leaning in its doorway at the top of the brick stairs. I park, get out and lock up, then turn to move tentatively up the steps. Jimmy smiles and straightens up to greet me, his dark eyes drawing me into their depths again. Hey there, Tina, he says in a friendly tone that makes me warm all over. I notice that your kitchen's still in pieces. I prepped too much barbecue stuff for just me. You're welcome if you want to pop over and have some. I stare. He flashes a grin at my surprise and waits. Finally, I just blink up at him and offer a tentative smile. Sure, I say, my heart pounding in my ears. That sounds great.
Chapter 5. Jimmy.
The barbecue was a damn good idea. I know Tina loves my yard. It's the first thing she ever talked to me about. She asked me, in her stumly way, whether I had ever worked with any renovation companies, and offered the idea of us collaborating. I needed to tiptoe around that idea because the real job doesn't leave that much time for the cover job. Though at the end of the day, I'm great at both. But now, I'm ready to talk it over with her again. Or really talk about anything else that gives me an excuse to get close to her. I'm not picky about subject matter. She changed before coming, and her loose purple gauze dress clings to her as the wind blows it against her body. A little perfume wafts toward me now and again. It's a soft fragrance, one that suits her shyness. I let myself look at her as much as I want, already knowing she'll be into it. She notices my eyes roaming over her, and lowers her eyelashes demurely, peeping at me through them. Just adorable. This one's special. I can tell already. One shy, meaningful look from her affects me more than anything physical ever could. The thought of being with her makes me ache with anticipation. It almost feels dangerous, like I might lose control of my feelings. But I shake that worry off after a moment, amused at myself. I'm not about to let emotional risk scare me off of the fun of wrapping this little sweetie around my finger. I've gone for gun show in black jeans and a matching tank top, my hair loose across my shoulders. I'm getting sick of the man-bun look. It was fine back when martial artists were doing it, but now every long hair craving a straight job is trying it. Besides, I like the way Tina's gaze trails over the hair across my shoulders as I leave it free. I flip the steaks and brush on more sauce, whistling. She sits at the little picnic table I have next to my grill, as we work through the getting to know you better chit-chat. Tina's like a new flower that just bloomed here. She draws a lot more attention than I think she would ever imagine. "How's the renovation coming along?" I ask in a friendly voice. She jumps a little, and her cheeks turn colors again. I fight down a grin at the sight. "Well, it's a whole lot of hurry up and wait mostly. I hope the noise hasn't been bothering you." She peeks at me from behind her lashes, and this time I can't help the smile. "Nah." I wave a hand dismissively. "I'm already up and around by the time your boys get started. You figured out yet what you want to do with the back garden?" She shrugs, her exasperation showing a little. "Pave it over?" I laugh. Her yard is the kind of mess that happens when someone who used to have a great space lets it go for years and years because they can't take care of it anymore. Brambles, overgrown rosebushes, vines, weeds. "I can see why you would say that," I chuckle, "but don't give up yet. You are still interested in working together a little?" I have precious little free time, but I need two things right now: Tina's crush on me and her belief that I'm just a landscaper. Working every day in her back garden will give me an excuse to cultivate both. Her eyes light up, and she takes the bait easy. I'd like that. Did you have some idea of what to do with the mess back there?" Her chest heaves distractingly with excitement, and I have to drag my eyes out of her cleavage before I answer. "Yeah, a few things. Looks like nobody's touched that garden of yours in a long time, though." I let my voice warm just a little. "It might need a lot of tender, loving care." Her expression says yes, please, and I make sure to stay turned just enough so she can't see the effect her smile has on me. My body reacts, pressing eagerly against the tough denim, craving release, and on her no less. But she's still fumbling over words about gardening. "Oh, well then, you're the expert on gardens. Way more than I am." My eyes narrow slightly with pleasure. "Yeah, you could sure say that. I'd love to come over to your place and see what I'm working with." She smiles shyly, but with just a touch of heat in her eyes again. "Okay. After we eat then?" I nod, and let her off the hook by making small talk again for a while. She's already so flustered that she looks ready to fall out of her seat. Poor thing. Where has she been all her life? A convent? The thought that she might still be untouched only deepens my fascination. There's something about the idea of being her first real experience, of showing her what it means to be truly wanted, truly seen, that pulls at me. I want to be the one who stays in her mind, the one she compares everyone else to, the one she comes back to. But there's a quiet hesitance in her, a guardedness I can't ignore. If I want any chance at breaking through, I'll have to move slowly, earn her trust first before anything else. But I've never failed at that with any woman. I can definitely break through to her, no problem. "You got something on your mind?" I ask her gently, as she nibbles on bits of her steak. She freezes for a second, then glances at me and swallows. "I guess I'm surprised you're having me over for barbecue now." "Hey. Why is that?" I can see the tentative look on her face, and know she's pushing herself to ask questions. Awkward ones. Not for me, of course, for her. "You didn't seem interested in talking much before." Her fingers twiddle nervously with her silverware, and she bites her full pink lower lip in a way that makes my mouth go dry. "Hey, it's not because I didn't want to. I've just been really busy. I generally am. The boss sends me on all kinds of errands, like the one I did last night. This guy needs to die, that one needs to be taught a lesson. This building needs to be torched, that one has to be protected. I've been a made man since I was 17, and that kind of stuff is my real day-to-day job. It's something I could never expect Tina to understand. But I am interested." I catch her gaze and hold it, and she smiles at me very shyly. But then a flicker of doubt enters her eyes. "How interested?" she asks softly. I lift an eyebrow slightly, my smile cocky and flirtatious. "Enough to make a night of it, if you've got nothing going in the morning." Last night's event made the news all right, but when Tina and I met on the stairs, I quickly realized she either doesn't watch the news much, or didn't get a good look at Marie while I was with her. Either way, I was lucky this time. She hesitates, fighting down the big smile that I know wants to bloom. "Oh, I thought you were seeing someone." And there it is. I snort, cutting a big chunk of my steak and eating it before answering. "I've seen a lot of someones. I'm not serious with anyone. I wouldn't ask otherwise. I don't play those kind of games. I want to make sure that I don't scare her off, so I try to feel her out. Once I have her nice and relaxed and into it, the games can begin. I'll get her there. I just have to learn which buttons to push." I lean forward and catch her eye again. "What about you? You serious with anyone?" She lets out a laugh that sounds more bitter than nervous, and I raise my eyebrows in surprise. "Never," she says simply, confirming my suspicions. I hold her gaze a moment longer. "Good."
Chapter 6. Tina.
Oh damn, did he just say that? I stare at Jimmy with my heart going a million miles an hour, flattered and shocked and still half disbelieving. I couldn't imagine this ever happening, not outside of wistful daydreams. The reality is such a pleasant shock that it is a good thing I am already sitting down. He is watching me closely, his eyes shrewd. "You all right?" he asks me in that warm, gentle tone again. "Yeah," I manage after a moment. "I'm okay. I'm just not used to guys like you being interested in me." "What do you mean by guys like me?" he asks, his tone staying amused even as I cringe inwardly. I was a little nervous before. Now, I feel like I'm about to do a stage solo at Carnegie Hall, and I don't play an instrument. "I mean guys that I'm actually interested in," I force out, smiling awkwardly, my cheeks burning. I feel 15 instead of 21, full of crushes, barely understood feelings, and all sorts of euphoria and discomfort at the same time. It's so confusing to want this badly, and be wanted in return. He smiles slowly, his eyes full of heat. "Oh. Well, that explains it. You've had bad luck." "Explains what?" I ask, so dizzy that I can barely register what he's saying to me. He notices how flustered I am, and pauses to pour me a lemonade and hand it over. I take a few grateful swallows, buying time to pull myself together. When I finally lower the glass from my lips, he speaks up. "I was trying to figure out how a catch like you could be single," he says simply. His words race through me, waking up nerves I have never used, leaving me aching and hungry for something I'm not familiar with. I want to feel myself crushed against his sleek, hard body and held tight, until I can breathe again. He stays where he is, and I struggle through and get over it. I take a shuddering breath. "There's an awful lot you don't know about me," I say slowly, wondering how much I should bring up, but then I realize that mentioning the nut house could scare him off. I have purposely used it to scare the wrong men off more than once. Now you've just got me curious. He has plowed through most of his steak already. I'm still nibbling on my first third. The flavor of the meat helps steady me. It gives me something to focus on, besides the different feelings boiling around inside of me. "You feel like filling me in?" I manage to meet his gaze. "Trade you." He hesitates, then agrees, "Sure." That's the first time that a little alarm bell goes off in my head about Jimmy. Just the tiniest one, set off by his hesitation as I am reminded, once again, how little I know about him, but I'm too blitzed by joy, fear, wonder, anticipation, and disbelief to listen to it. He likes me. He wants me. To hell with everything else. I'll work it out later. "I'm from Illinois," I start hesitantly. "Grew up in a town called Pontiac. I only ever came to New York to visit my grandma here. It was more than a treat. This house meant safety to me when I was younger. It meant warmth, it meant comfort. It meant somewhere I was actually welcome." Oh, the old lady was your grandma? I heard a little about her from the neighbors, but I never talked to her much in person. Nice lady seemed like? He devours the rest of his steak, and I have to resist the urge to offer him a chunk of mine. Yeah. Have you always lived in New York? I watch his face and see that little hesitation again. I grew up in Yonkers. But business out there isn't as good. Here, everyone's packed in tight, so any green space has to count. Out there, it's more like the suburbs. Only the rich really care as much. He shrugs a broad shoulder and takes a few long gulps of lemonade, nearly draining the glass. The movement of his throat sends a flash of heat through me. I can't help it, my mind jumps to last night. To the image of him above that woman, body tense, hips driving forward, head thrown back in that raw, unfiltered groan of pleasure. The sound echoes in my ears, vivid and all-consuming. My fingers slip on the glass in my hand. Whoa! He snatches it before it can fall, his reflexes lightning fast. His fingers are warm, big, steadying mine beneath them. I freeze, breath caught in my throat. You okay? Yeah, just distracted. My voice is barely steady. He wants to do that with me. He's been flirting, testing the waters. What do I do with that? I want it, but I've never done this. A wave of heat rolls through me, chased by a shiver. I pull in a breath, trying to calm the storm rising inside me. Sorry, I murmur, eyes down. Don't apologize. He's so close to me that I freeze, not sure what to do. He takes the glass and sets it on the table and then lingers, his hand sliding over mine. My legs squeeze together reflexively, and I look up at him as he bends over me. So, you never dated? No. I mean, a little bit. Kid stuff. Flirting with a few of the lesser screwed up of my fellow violent ward inmates. Stolen kisses in the hallways. A few tentative dates the week or so after I turned 18. And then nothing. Takes a certain kind of guy to interest me. I'm picky. I say it with far more calm certainty than I actually feel. He runs his fingertips up my arm and over my shoulder before letting me go, and leaves me sitting there shivering and craving more as he goes back to his seat. I guess I should be flattered. But then the corner of his mouth curls. Unless, of course, your bar isn't actually that high, and you've just met a lot of guys who go out of their way to go under it. I pull out my phone and scroll. Let's see. 5 unsolicited photos from strangers in the last 6 hours, 2 requests for nudes, 1 very forward proposition, a message from my persistent stalker, and a couple of obvious scams. I glance up at him with a dry smile. My standards are high. You could probably step over them without much effort, but still, they're up there. That doesn't seem to stop most guys I meet from trying to tunnel underneath. He lets out a laugh and refills his glass of lemonade. I like you. So, any family? Everything freezes, and I sit there blinking while I try to figure out how to handle answering. Keep it simple. Grandma was my family. Oh. His smile wavers slightly. I'm sorry. It's okay. I'm glad to have had her in my life. Can't say that about anyone else, really. But some people didn't even have one person to remember fondly who was tied to them by blood, so I can't complain too much. I learned that one in the nut house soon enough. What about you? Oh, well, you know, the usual. Big Italian Catholic family. 5 siblings, 15 cousins, going on my 3rd nephew. Most of them are local. Christmases are huge. His eyes twinkle. I can't imagine. A boisterous, crowded Christmas, instead of a chilly, solemn one with a gold-ornamented tree I wasn't allowed to touch. Gifts given with love instead of impersonal envelopes of money? My father even called it my Christmas stipend, and told me I was fortunate to have it. But then again, who counts the opinion of a crazy child killer? I shake it off, and turn back to my blossoming conversation with Jimmy. How did you get into landscaping? Oh, my uncle. That one, he answers right away, almost eagerly. Great guy. He raised me and my sisters along with his 3 kids. He wanted one of us to inherit his business, so that's what I did. He drains his glass again, and I catch his eyes sliding over me hungrily. I don't know whether to feel powerful or frightened. I don't know whether to shrink into myself or reach out to him. It's like stage fright. The flip side of desire is this fear that somehow inexperience or my being broken will screw the whole thing up. Guess we came from really different places then. He shrugs, flashing another of those sensual smiles. Well, they say opposites attract. And just like that, he runs a calloused fingertip over the back of my hand as my palm lies flat on the table. Electric sparks travel up my arm from that light, deliberate touch, and I forget every question that I was planning to ask him.
Chapter 7. Jimmy.
Well, it's a jungle out here, I say with a grin, surveying Tina's backyard. The house is even less finished than I expected. Turns out only the attic suite and 3 of the downstairs rooms are fully livable. She walked me through the half-gutted kitchen to get here, and it gave me a real sense of what it's been like for her, living in the middle of chaos. But I've got plans. I'm going to fix that, one swing of the hammer and shovel at a time. Maybe I'll win her over with yard work as much as charm. And yeah, if things go right, maybe with what I'm packing below the belt too. I plant my fists on my hips and take it all in, already plotting what this backyard could become. The old lady really liked her roses. I see a dozen different colors of bloom, peeking through all the tangled mess of greenery, and I can't help but smile. You like roses like your grandma did? A little. I mean, they're pretty, and they smell nice. Mostly I want to keep these ones because they remind me of Grandma. She moves tentatively onto the overgrown mass of weeds and wildflowers the back lawn turned into. I'll make sure to save 'em then. I move up beside her, getting her more used to being close to me. She's skittish as a deer, and I wonder again what the hell happened to her. But this time, she doesn't move. That part I'm glad to see. I've dealt with girls who have been hurt by men before, lots of them, because there are plenty around. I don't know who these guys think they are, who keep hurting women like this. I'd like to punch every last one of them in the face, but I don't mind cleaning up some of the damage they do if it gets me what I want. Besides, watching a lady bounce back from something awful and get the light back in her eyes is pretty neat. Hey, call me a romantic. I lay my hand on Tina's shoulder and feel her tremble slightly, holding her breath. I run my fingertips over her shoulder and the side of her neck, and she lets the air out with a gasp. Thank you, she murmurs belatedly. We stare into the thicket for a few moments. I leave my hand where it is, and after a few shivery breaths, she lays her smooth, slim fingers on top of mine. I feel that jolt again, all the way down to my groin, and smile to myself. I might have to take my time with this one, but not long. She's warming up to me already, even if she's tentative and shy about it. What did this garden look like back when you were young? I ask, getting a flash of intuition. She lights up a little, and I feel her take a deep breath. The rose bushes line the 2 side fences with fruit trees at the far end. She kept a lawn in the middle for her dogs, and for me when I visited. There were raspberry canes climbing a trellis in the back. Huh. That's interesting. Dogs and high walls lined with thorny plants. I wonder what Grandma was worried about keeping out. Big dogs? Tina nods. She had a Saint Bernard named Lady. The dog used to help her foster kittens for a rescue organization. Gentle as anything, but didn't look it. She doesn't move under my hand, so I slide it across her back and slip an arm around her shoulders. At once I feel her shiver again, and every time she does, that same delicious jolt goes through me. She points to an area of what once was a beautiful backyard. She had a kiddie pool, put up in spring and summer for that dog. Lady would just sit there soaking all afternoon. She laughs a little, high and nervous, and I suddenly realize that her head is full of things she's trying to distract herself from. Why? Because I'm touching her. I lighten my contact a little, and she unconsciously moves closer to me. No, not that. Nice to know. But what then? So, here's a question for you. What about putting the garden back the way it was, and then we'll work from there? In some ways, It will actually be easier. I turn toward her a little. She looks around again, still trembling now and again in the circle of my arm. Then she looks up at me. "Sounds good," she murmurs. I can tell she's barely listening to what I'm saying anymore. Her mind is elsewhere. I just want to know exactly where so I can bring her back. I take a risk. It's calculated. I figure she needs to be pushed a little. Just right up to the edge of her comfort zone. My free hand cups her jawline, coaxing her head back a little more as I bend over her. Her eyes fly open in surprise, and then hood almost drowsily as her hands slide up the backs of my arms. Her mouth tastes of lemonade and mint gum, and she makes a soft, barely there sound as our lips meet. She clings to me, trembling. At first she's hesitant, tense and unsure, but then she begins to soften, responding with a kind of delicate sweetness that pulls me deeper. A rush of heat spreads through me, overwhelming and sudden. I pull her closer, my heart thudding hard in my chest, and my lips linger on hers with growing urgency. When we finally break apart, breathless and wide-eyed, it feels like we've just run a race we never meant to start. She's speechless in my arms. I let her off the hook. "Wow," I breathe softly as I stared down at her. "That was really nice." "Aha," she squeaks. I chuckle and pull back just a little, giving her a moment to catch her breath. Not to mention my own need to calm down. My mind is racing, and part of me wants to carry her up to that room she's always watching me from and show her how much I care, but it's not the right time yet. Instead, I gently trace her delicate lips with my fingertip and kiss her softly, just for a moment, before letting her go. Always leave them wanting more. It's a rule. It might leave me wanting more too, but it would leave her curious, interested, and less afraid. Why is she afraid in the first place? "Who hurt you, sweetheart?" "Well," I said smoothly as I stepped back, just as matter of fact as if nothing had happened. "I think I'm gonna go get my tools and get started." She started, still looking dizzy. "What do you need from me?" I flash her a teasing grin. A six-pack of good lager once I'm done, and another kiss. She blushes so hard I half expect her ankles to turn red, but then nods quickly, smiling. Once back home, I set to work at once. Not on gathering tools, on gathering intelligence. This is a girl who has at least as many secrets as I do, and I want to know them all. My house is deliberately nondescript on the main floor, almost like a house staged for sale. Simple, but well-made furnishings, generic decor, and bland colors. It's upstairs and down in the basement, the places guests don't normally see that get interesting. The house has 2 bedrooms besides the attic space, which I have turned into my computer room. It's soundproofed and heavily insulated, with air purifiers and dehumidifiers humming along with the servers and fans. One of the things I do before each job is gather intel on the targets. I guess it's the military guy in me. Before my uncle the Don took me on, I was doing a lot of the same things for the U.S. Marines. Tina isn't a target, but my instincts are still going off. Something's up with that sweet little girl. Someone hurt her. And my guts twist thinking about it, making me want to find that someone and take them out. I know it's probably not possible, and depending on who it is, it might not even help her. But the impulse still tugs at me. The attic space would be stiflingly hot if it weren't for the exhaust fans pulling the warm air out, and the air conditioner pushing cool air in. Up here, I have my own high-end liquid-cooled computer system with enough power to run a small hosting service. I tell people I'm a hardcore gamer if they ask about my appetite for tech, but I'm not. My electric bill gets pretty hefty in summer, but no one notices when everyone in the neighborhood's living on central air but me. The real name of the game is intelligence gathering. The big office chair creaks under my weight as I settle into it. It's tough to find ones big and high-backed enough for me, but Uncle Ezio came through for me when he found out what I needed it for. Now he bugs me about helping him figure out all his electronic stuff, like I was his 10-year-old grandkid, but I don't mind. He may be my boss, but he's also family. Tina Carson, of Carson Restorations. I find her social media accounts and her website in a few seconds. I find details on her contractor's license, her business paperwork, advertising, and some public correspondences. She has a dating site profile. It's deleted, but I know the site keeps all data for at least a year. I make a mental note to check it out. Tina Carson, of Pontiac, Illinois. I try her name with the keyword Pontiac and find myself staring at my screen in growing horror. My little Tina is famous, and not in a good way. News article after news article from almost 11 years ago pops up in my feed, and I stare at the headlines in disbelief. Child involved in father's death. Tina Carson could face adult charges. Investigations continue into family's connection to local cases. Mask found at scene similar to suspects. Mother calls incident a misunderstanding. Officer reports possible interference in case. Evidence links Aaron Carson to ongoing investigation. Tina Carson found not responsible in self-defense case, family seeks review. Tina Carson, admitted for inpatient psychiatric treatment. Carson mother, indicted for obstruction of justice. Carson mother, may have assisted serial killer husband. New chapter in Tina Carson saga, as mother attempts to block inheritance. Wow. It just keeps getting darker. Tina's past reads like something out of a nightmare. One parent is gone. The other locked her away after she took drastic action to escape a life of pain. She grew up surrounded by trauma, punished for trying to survive. No wonder she's so guarded. She's barely had a chance to live her own life, let alone explore relationships. I don't have time to go through all the ugly details, but that doesn't matter. She's already under my skin enough that I can feel my blood boiling. No wonder she's so skittish. No wonder she is so watchful of anything going on outside her house. The intensity of my reaction surprises me. I barely know this girl. I realize I need to be careful so her sharp instincts don't work against me. I know I want to be close to her, maybe even more often than just this once. I've had casual relationships before. Maybe this could actually work. But it still pisses me off. She defends herself from her father, makes a mortal enemy of her mother, and ends up locked up for almost half her life because of it. It makes me want to break something. I decide to go down, grab my tools, and take my anger out on the chaos of her garden. Once my anger is gone, I won't have to worry about making her nervous by just being around her. I'll cool down first. Then it will be time to really get down to business.
Chapter 8. Tina.
He kissed me. I stand at the window of my attic bedroom and stare down through the slanted glass at the carnage going on in my garden. Stripped to the waist, save for a headscarf and heavy gloves, Jimmy's sawing, shearing and mowing his way through almost 5 years of overgrowth almost as fast as it took us to talk about it. And all I can do is stare. I have the beer he wanted ready for him. Apparently, we have similar tastes, at least in that. As for the kiss, I'm watching his gleaming dirt-streaked body labor away, cutting back the weeds and overgrowth, and my lips are tingling. I know part of it is my crush on him, but I have never gotten a kiss like that from any man before in my life. He can have as many as he wants, as far as I'm concerned. Giddy, I have to fight to keep from hyperventilating as I watch him. He came back from next door with his burly arms full of tools and set off to work, suggesting that I get in a nap while he cleared things out. But who can sleep after a kiss like that, and the promise of more? He woke something inside of me, a wild sort of excitement that burned away almost all of my fear at once, like ice in a furnace. On one hand, it feels so much better than being afraid that I'm beaming. On the other hand, it means that when I try to go to bed, I lie there with my whole body thrumming with this unexpected emotion. The common sense, self-protective part of me is whispering warnings, reminding me that I don't know him that well. Reminding me that the law won't even let me get a gun to protect myself now, and if I let him into my space and my heart, he could hurt me badly enough to drive me completely crazy. And yet, in one way, the doc is right. He really is. If I let myself lose my nerve all the time because of maybes, I'm never really going to live at all. And so I watch Jimmy do battle with my overgrown garden, and feel my heart bang away in my chest so hard, it feels like it's going to start shaking my body. I might not know much about what happens after a kiss, not firsthand, but I know that I am going to find out soon. Jimmy seems almost angry, as he rakes another mess of broken down vegetation into lawn bags. My curb is going to be lined with them before this is over. Some neighbors might complain. They're already not happy about the renovation waste dumpster taking both my parking spaces up out front. But right now, watching him labor away, the fear I would normally feel at the idea of getting in trouble with the locals dies away quickly. It feels so good to know now that at least one of my neighbors is definitely in my corner. And not to mention, a really, really good kisser. I start to shake suddenly and go to lie down, staring up at the ceiling until the room stops tilting around me. I'm smiling so hard that my face aches. How long has it been since I smiled this much? Since I was 7 maybe, and in this exact same house. I look around my attic room, my sanctum. It has a steel door on it, and its own attached bathroom. It has a fire ladder I could use to climb to the ground. Its windows can't be reached from outside, and the stairs are old and noisy. I created it this way, deliberately leaving the stairs with their creaks while shoring them up from below. It isn't the most secure panic room setup I could have come up with, but it fits the space, and means that even if my stuff on lower floors might not be safe, I will sleep safely, and that's most important. But now I'm letting someone into that sanctum, someone who could really hurt me. But whenever he touches me, it feels so good. I want to take the risk. I want to know what it's like with someone I'm really into. Even if this never goes anywhere beyond that, even if he hurts me tomorrow, and I have to jettison him out of my life, I want to know. I stare at the heavy beam that makes up the roof peak well over my head. The mobiles I made in art sessions over the years hang there, coated in glow in the dark paints. They are full of stars and planets, strange archaic-looking birds, and things I picked out of photos of illuminated manuscripts. For years I made those mobiles obsessively and hung them over my bed, like some people do a dream catcher. Now dozens of them turn in the breeze from the window, and the bits of mirror glued to them send patches of light across the heavy woodwork. Will I be watching these later while he presses me into this mattress? The thought sends a happy shiver down my spine. I must have dozed off watching the patterns of light. When I open my eyes again, the reflected light is reddening. I jump up, oddly embarrassed with myself, and hurry to the window. I stare. The garden has been cleared. It's not quite back to the way Grandma used to have it, but it's close enough that I can imagine where the kiddie pool should be, and I can contemplate walking barefoot on the fresh-trimmed lawn. The rose bushes have been cut back a bit severely, but not enough that all the blooms are gone. The apple trees are visible again. And every last bag of cut greenery has been brought out, all but one, which Jimmy is hauling out through the alleyway on his shoulder. I step back into my sandals, grab the beer from my tiny fridge, and hurry downstairs, thinking only of getting him his cool drink. Poor guy. Working so hard in this heat, I should let him get a shower. I'll have to fight the urge to poke my head in and watch him, but he's going to need to rinse off after all of that. I pull out one of the long necks and come to meet him at the back door. He comes in panting and radiating damp heat. I offer the beer, and he immediately presses the chilled side to his temple. "Thanks, baby," he says hoarsely, his eyes tired but grateful. "Thank you. I saw what you did. I didn't realize you were planning to tackle everything today." He moves with purpose, efficient and focused. I can't help but wonder what that says about his stamina. "Oh, that's just the first big push," he says casually. "You've still got a lot of work to be done back there, but don't you worry about that right now anyway. It'll keep until I get some more gear in." He cracks his beer open and takes a sip, too smart to slug it down while he is overheated. "You got someplace I can get cleaned up?" he asks, and I feel a catch in my chest. Upstairs, the attic suite. It's the only part of the house that's fully done, and it has its own bathroom. My voice comes out higher and faster than I want it to, dripping with nervousness. "Thanks, sweetheart. I think I can manage one last set of stairs. Grab the beer for me." He walks past me, headed for the stairway. I stare after him for a moment, not quite sure how to react, then hastily lock the back door and hurry after him with the beer.
Chapter 9. Jimmy.
Seducing women is an art. You have to tailor your approach to each one of them. An alpha female businesswoman is likely to want the polite but direct approach a lot more than a nervous trauma survivor. And a frustrated housewife is a lot easier to tempt than a biker chick with 2 boyfriends, a girlfriend, and a date list as long as your arm. Tina needs a delicate touch. I'll have her eager for something more intense soon enough, but for now, I'll meet her where she is. As I climb the stairs, muscles burning from the effort after all that work and skin itching from layers of drying sweat, I know not to approach timid little Tina yet. Instead, I remind myself of what she likes to do best. She likes to watch me, preferably in as little as possible. She must have been dying to get me in the shower. The first beer's gone in a few swallows, as soon as I'm cooled down enough to keep it from giving me cramps. I'm not even up the stairs yet. Then I am, emerging into an airy romantic space with dozens of shining mobiles hanging from the roof peak, and a 4-poster with mosquito netting veils sitting right beneath it. There's a small table, 2 chairs, a small fridge, a desk with a laptop computer, an archway that leads to the still bright sunroom and the door to the bathroom. Right in there. You can use one of my towels if you want. Her gaze keeps flicking over me lightly, like moth wings. I flash a smile and stride into the antique-tiled bathroom, done in shades of depression blue. I leave the door unlatched by accident, just enough that the breeze from the small open window inside can push it the rest of the way open. The shower stall is in full view of the door in that tiny space. All she has to do is sit somewhere where she can see it, if she doesn't walk right into the doorway altogether. I take my time scrubbing off, turning in the spray, sighing with relief as the itch goes away and the cool water takes away the rest of that smothering feeling. She has peppermint soap and one of those scratchy loofah things. Between those and the cool water, it's more than refreshing. I feel 1,000,000 times more awake by the time I rinse my hair and open my eyes. I spot her silhouette just beyond the doorway, a soft purple blur through the steam, her hands gently covering her mouth. I stretch under the water, letting it cascade down my body, fully aware of her gaze. Every movement is deliberate, but I keep my expression calm, as if I haven't noticed her there. She doesn't move, just watches. The air thickens with the silent tension between us. When I finally reach to turn off the water, I hear the faintest gasp. A second later, she's gone, vanished from the doorway like a breath of fog in the morning sun. I smile to myself, clean, hard, and wrapped in clothes soaked with sweat, dirt, and plant sap. No point in getting dressed just yet. I grab the towel she handed me, knotting it around my hips, knowing full well it does little to hide what's pressing against it. She likes to look, so I'll let her. When I come strolling out of the shower in just the towel, her jaw drops and her eyes widen, and I almost burst out laughing. Hi there. Can't put those clothes on, they're messed up. Do you have a working washer? She mumbles, eyes fixed on my crotch basement. I chuckle and lift an eyebrow at her. Mind if I clean them up later? I'm really in no hurry to get dressed again. Unless it bothers you. I keep my tone so casual, it almost sounds lazy, and see her swallow a thought down. Bother me, she murmurs and then laughs and shakes her head. Not really. The truth is, I like to look. She chews her lip nervously and admits, all I've ever been able to do before is look. So I like it. Shy girl. I walk toward her, the tented towel leading the way. I see her keep trying not to stare and failing, and it just amuses me more. Well, feel free to look all you want. She licks her lips, her tongue flicking over their full curves, and her gaze moves over me like a touch I can feel. My body tenses with anticipation, so much so it borders on ache. As she circles me, never making contact, I sense the rising warmth in her too, the slight catch in her breath, the way her pupils have widened. I give her a slow smile, open and inviting. I already know, by the time this is over, she'll trust me with anything. I've never lost a bet like this. She steps around in front of me again, her hand hovering in the air, not quite bridging the space between us. I don't rush her. There's power in waiting, and patience is a game I've mastered. You can touch, I say softly. If you want to. She bites her lip, just for a second, and then her fingers land lightly on the side of my neck. I tilt my head slightly into her touch, her fingers threading through the damp curls of my hair and drifting across my shoulder. Her breathing comes in quiet, uneven pulls. Her touch is light but growing bolder, leaving sparks on my skin as she explores my chest and down my abdomen, stopping where the towel begins. Not yet, but almost. Then she surprises me. Her hands slide up my back and she steps into my arms. This time, when I kiss her, she kisses me back. It's not tentative. It's not timid. It's real. A rush of warmth blooms inside me. My heart drums in my chest as her body rests gently against mine. Sweetheart, I murmur against her lips, breathless. You have no idea what you're doing to me. I kiss her again, deeper, slower, and something in her melts into me. She trembles, not from fear, but from something deeper, something blooming between us. Her hands drift again, hesitating near the edge of the towel. I keep my arm around her, and slowly, without a word, loosen the knot. The fabric slips to the floor, unnoticed. She stiffens for a heartbeat, surprised by the intimacy, but her hands stay. She explores slowly, her fingers learning every line of my frame as if memorizing them. Each touch is a ripple, soft but potent. I close my eyes, letting the moment anchor me. Then I take her hands in mine and lift them gently. If we keep going, I whisper, smiling, I might forget to hold back. I tilt my head. Maybe we should make things a little more comfortable. She looks up, thoughtful, then nods, and her smile is everything. She begins unbuttoning her dress, slowly, each movement careful and deliberate. When it slips from her shoulders, revealing the soft sheen of her satin bra, I feel my breath catch. She's beautiful. Completely, undeniably. And all I want now is to make sure she knows just how much she's wanted.
Chapter 10. Tina. His skin is warm and smooth, and he shudders under my hands, his breath catching as I finally get to touch him the way I have dreamed of doing. He responds so much to every little caress, filling me with a completely foreign sense of power. I realize slowly that despite his ability to overpower me physically, I am the one in control right now. He has given me that. I don't know how he knows that I need so much care. Maybe his instincts are just this good. Or maybe he's this gentle with every woman. Though from what I saw last night, that doesn't seem to be the case. I finally get it through my head to stop mulling on it so much and enjoy it instead. When I touch him, there's no doubt, every careful stroke draws a reaction. His breath catches, a low sound escapes his lips, and I feel the way his body responds beneath my hand, tense and alive. He's big, more than I expected. A part of me wonders how this will even work, a flicker of nervousness stirring beneath the want. But I don't pull away. I'm drawn in, curious, excited, a little afraid, and still I keep going. This time when we kiss, I don't freeze up. This time when the kiss ends, he asks me to take the dress off. And I do. Slowly, hesitantly, but my fingers do the work without fumbling, and soon I slip the garment off over my shoulders. Thank God I wore a pretty bra today, I think nervously as he stares at me. My knees begin to feel unsteady, so I reach for his hand and lead him toward the bed. It's large and welcoming, just the way I like it, especially on warm nights when I want to stretch out. I ease onto the covers and glance up as he approaches. He leans down and kisses me again, deeper this time. I sink back into the bed as he climbs up beside me, his body hovering above mine. His mouth finds mine with quiet urgency, then trails to my neck, his lips and breath leaving a wake of warmth against my skin. One of his hands holds himself up while the other begins to explore, slow, steady, deliberate. His touch is strong yet gentle, tracing along my side before settling at my hip. A subtle shiver ripples through me, not from fear, but from the intensity of the sensation and the vulnerability of letting someone in. As he moves, I focus on every detail, his hands, his mouth, the growing warmth between us. His kisses drift lower, brushing along the edges of my bra, fingers teasing the fabric. There's no rush, just slow, deliberate unraveling that lets the anticipation build. With it, my fear softens. This is more than passion, it's connection. The weight of that feels both thrilling and overwhelming. I want more, his mouth on my skin. I whimper softly and arch toward him, struggling to find the words, then reach back to undo the clasp myself. He leans in again, deep, unhurried. With practiced ease, his hand finds the clasp and slips it free. The straps fall from my shoulders, and I welcome the exposure, trusting him more than I ever thought I would. When our skin meets, bare and warm, he lets out a low sound, one that seems to echo in my chest. Then he pulls back, just far enough to look at me. His gaze stops me cold. There's awe in his expression, quiet and real, as if he's looking at something rare, something worthy of care. No one has ever looked at me like that. His hand cups me gently, full of care rather than urgency, as he lowers his mouth to press soft kisses across my chest. Each kiss lingers, sending gentle waves of sensation through me, slow, deliberate, awakening something deep inside I hadn't realized was waiting. When his lips reach the most sensitive part, my body reacts before my mind can catch up. My breath falters and my back arches slightly. Thoughts slip away, leaving only this moment, his touch, his warmth, the tender rhythm unraveling me in ways I never expected. He moves to the other side with the same careful devotion, his fingers exploring with quiet curiosity, as if learning every word of my body's language. I tremble, overwhelmed by the care in his touch and the depth of feeling it stirs. His hand glides lower, tracing a slow path down my stomach. When he cups me through the soft fabric between us, my breath hitches again. The touch is gentle, patient, yet it sparks a fire inside me, quietly burning, steadily growing. It's happening. He's here with me, completely present, completely focused. I lift my hips without thinking, as he gently slides my underwear down. There's no hesitation, just trust, just heat. His touch is slow and careful, like he's learning me by heart. One hand continues its tender exploration, while the other stays at my waist, grounding me. His fingers move with purpose but patience, mapping every response, reading every breath. I can feel his gaze on my face, though mine is blurred, too lost in sensation to hold focus. My eyes flutter shut, my breathing shallow and uneven. My body aches with a kind of tension I've never known, a hunger that builds as his touch lingers in places that spark shivers. He draws back just enough to shift me closer to the edge of the bed, and I feel the warmth of him near, the weight of everything that's about to unfold. His hand moves again, slow, circling, coaxing, and I can't stop the way I move beneath him, chasing the feeling, unable to resist the pull. The pressure coils inside me, delicate but unstoppable, and the only sounds I can manage are soft, pleading sighs as the moment draws tighter, closer, deeper. He slows just a little, his eyes meeting mine as I open them. "You ready for this?" he murmurs, his voice low and warm. I feel the gentle pressure of his body against mine, and my breath catches as anticipation hums through me. It's time. I've reached the point where the need for him outweighs every trace of fear. My breath shakes as I nod. He reads my expression and leans in slowly, his touch turning urgent again. His hands explore with a confidence that leaves me breathless, every movement stoking the fire already burning inside me. Then he's holding me close, steady, his strength wrapped around mine. I gasp, the sensation intense, like I'm unraveling and being put back together all at once. He pauses, breath hot against my ear, giving me a moment to catch up. One hand cradles my back, the other finds a rhythm that sends sparks down my spine. My thoughts blur. Everything narrows to this moment, this connection, and my heart races as my body responds to his. Pleasure builds with relentless intensity, leaving me trembling beneath him. When it crashes over me, it's not just physical, it's something more. Something deeper. I cry out, my whole being lighting up with a kind of joy I didn't know I could feel. I hold on to him, as if I might fly apart. He's fierce, focused, but tender too, every breath, every movement echoing with care and desire. His voice breaks with raw sound, and the tension in him finally bursts. Then he stills, breathing hard, his head falling gently against my shoulder. The air between us is quiet and warm, full of everything we've just shared. And just like that, I know. I know what it's supposed to feel like. Not just the pleasure, but the trust. The closeness. The way it only means something because it's him. Chapter 11. Jimmy.
I collapse beside her, completely undone, breath coming in sharp bursts as I try to steady myself. For a long moment I just lie there, legs half off the bed, chest rising and falling, wrapped in the warmth of her skin and the quiet thrum of shared exhaustion. Her scent lingers in the air, a mix of skin and heat, grounding me in a way I didn't expect. I feel her arms around me, and for a second I almost drift, lulled into something dangerously close to peace. But she's half my size, and though tough as nails, she doesn't need to carry my weight. I ease away, reluctant, my legs not quite steady as I rise. She remains sprawled across the bed, her hair a tangle on the sheets, chest rising and falling in slow rhythm. No sign of pain. No trace of regret. Good. That's how it should be. I gather her gently into my arms, feeling a quiet satisfaction settle in my chest. She stirs, making a soft, questioning sound, and I press a kiss to her hair as I pull back the covers and tuck her in, letting her sink into the mattress. I should walk away. I have a job tonight. I shouldn't get comfortable. This isn't supposed to feel like more than what it is. I'm not a romantic. I'm a weapon. Then again, so is she. The only difference is, when she pulled the trigger, it was to survive. What I do, it's not so simple. I don't get to pretend I'm the good guy. And no one's coming for me, in a dark alley, if I choose to walk away. There'll be consequences, sure. Uncle Ezio would make sure of that. But it wouldn't be justice. It would be business. I stare down at her for a moment, then slide in next to her and wrap my arms around her from behind. She's warm and soft in my embrace, and I'm tired from the day's work and the closeness we've shared. I decide to just lie here for a while, savoring the quiet comfort. Uncle Ezio looks down at me sadly as I crouch over the toilet. I'm 14, my hands smell of gunsmoke, and my stomach keeps heaving long after I have anything left to bring up. I made my first kill today. The guy was going to shoot Uncle Ezio and I, as we were coming out the back of the theater. Matinees have been our special thing to do together since he took me in. He's watched so many cheesy kids shows with me that he's memorized some of them, but he never complains. After a while, I've realized that he wanted to be a dad more than my real dad ever had. I was just the lucky kid he took care of. I was happy that day. And then, out of nowhere, and in broad daylight no less, a guy from a rival crew stepped out from behind a dumpster, gun raised and aimed straight at us. Ezio reacted instantly, shoving me behind him as he reached for his weapon. The shot rang out before he could draw. It hit him in the shoulder, spun him sideways, and his gun clattered to the ground right at my feet. I screamed. My hands moved before my brain could catch up. I grabbed the gun and fired, over and over, not even sure if I was hitting anything, just trying to survive. Now, Ezio's been patched up by the family's doctor, and the crew has handled the cleanup. But me? I can't stop shaking. I've been gagging and sobbing, and throwing up like a sick kid who doesn't understand what just happened. I'm at the sink trying to clean my face, my hands trembling, when I feel a hand on my shoulder, rough, weathered, familiar. "It's all right, kid," my uncle says in that heavy accent of his. I glance up. His eyes are calm, steady. No pity. No shame. Just quiet understanding. "I threw up for 3 days after my first one," he says, voice low. "It means you're still human." "You did?" I'm shocked. Uncle Ezio doesn't seem to be afraid of anything. He looks at me solemnly. "Yeah. I did. And that was a straight-up job. You defended us. You saved both our lives, kid. You did good. But it's still gonna hurt because you've got a heart. Even when that guy is a total dirtbag, his wife probably isn't. His kids probably aren't. You kill somebody, you take responsibility for the suffering of everyone who loves the guy. Even knowing that it has to be done, even going through with it, You're gonna feel at least a little sick because deep down you know that it's wrong. We don't kill because it's right, kid. We kill because somebody has to die. If you're gonna be a hitter for me, you gotta know that. My eyes open onto the dim light of sundown and 1,000 orange sparks from the mirrored mobiles hanging overhead. A soft, warm weight against my side whimpers softly. I turn my head and see Tina nestled in the crook of my arm, trembling in the grip of a bad dream. "Wake up, sweetheart." I lean over and whisper in her ear. She mumbles something and stirs. "That's it. Just a dream. That's all. It'll be okay." I kiss her ear, and she relaxes against me with a soft sigh. Then I turn my gaze to the ceiling. I have some time. I could stay if I want. The plan is set. A crooked DA's assistant will face consequences tonight, and I can use her as an alibi by keeping her close and making it seem like I never left. That actually sounds like a good idea, and it gives me an excuse to stay. Except, I gently brush her red hair back from her face and kiss her softly behind the ear. Yeah, I could really get used to this. I think that more than once in the next few hours. We share a pizza, and she's my comfort, her presence calming and sweet. We finish the evening quietly, curling up to rest. She drifts off to sleep, but I stay awake. When she's asleep, I pull the small syringe from my leather bracer and lean over her. "Hold still," I tell myself. This will only help her rest more deeply. But just as I'm about to, I stop. What am I doing? This isn't right. It's worse than wrong. She's probably already on medication. What if this causes harm? I don't want to hurt her. I don't even want to let her down. She's been through enough already. I sit there hesitating, confused. My head is whirling. I lower the needle toward her vein again, thinking of how important it is to complete this job, and how it could be dangerous as well if she woke up at the wrong moment. But what the hell am I doing, drugging my girlfriend? Is that what I've come to? Wait a minute. Girlfriend? I must be losing it. Time is getting short. I have to leave. I dress quickly in my dirty clothes just to get across the street, change into my work gear and a fresh pair of gloves, and get on the road. I'm caught in traffic in Midtown when I get a text from my uncle. "Kid, watch out. Tonight's guest is friends with Di Lorenzo." Damn. The Di Lorenzo brothers are holdouts from the last family that held the 5 boroughs. They refuse to swear to my uncle, and instead have tried to build their own little rival empire. It's more than a little ridiculous, given that they have about 10 guys and we have 300, but I do have to give them credit for balls. Caution too. The problem in this case is that every time the guys manage to buy a politician, they end up guarding him with their lives. Assistant DA David Grace is their biggest asset. No doubt he'll be guarded. I quickly text a reply. Advice. There's a long pause before he answers, and I move up some in the stop-and-go traffic. Finally, he texts, "I'll have some of the guys give them something to do while you do your job." I feel a creeping surge of doubt and want to ask him to send someone else. But then I just shake my head at myself. Man up. Of course you'd rather be back in bed with Tina. Who wouldn't? But the job was in my life before Tina, and I have to do it. Grace's mansion, where he lives on his own save for a small army of servants, sits on half an acre in the middle of the most expensive real estate in America. I have already cracked his camera and alarm codes. I just have to get in and out unseen. I don't know how Uncle Ezio is planning to lead the others away from me, but I am grateful that he is trying something. Unfortunately, it looks like he hasn't put his plan in motion yet, and I can see 4 guys prowling around the property that weren't there when I scouted it. I drive by at a normal pace, park 2 blocks past the grounds entrance, and get over the electrified fence with the help of a leather jacket and my vaulting skills. I watch from the shadows, poison in my pocket, while I wait for Ezio's distraction. I don't know what I should be expecting. A car full of hitters? Someone showing up with tranquilizer darts? You never really know with my uncle. Then it happens. There is a muffled boom, and suddenly car alarms go off down the street. I look from behind a bush and smirk. There's a black Cadillac on fire down the street, its own alarm shrilling, and suddenly all 4 men are running out the gate yelling and pulling at their hair. My car, my car. Snickering, I make my way inside, texting Ezio on the burner phone. I'm in. It takes a little risky sneaking around, but I finally make my way to the study and look in to see Grace sipping his nightly brandy in a wing-back chair. He's barely touched it yet, I'm still on time. Okay, he is in his study. A second later, deep in the house, a phone starts ringing. Grace sighs and gets up, shuffling out of the room while I hide around the corner and head off down the hall toward the sound. I look around, then slip into the room and withdraw a dropper bottle from the inside of my hoodie. I put 10 flavorless drops into his drink, tuck the bottle back into my pocket, and see myself out. Once I get back over the fence, I text Ezio briefly. Done. I put on my safety light and start jogging toward my car, pretending to be out for a late-night run. It takes me right past the now smoking car, and 3 very angry guys from the Di Lorenzos, currently yelling Italian into their phones as they complain about their blown-up ride. Hey. Sorry, boys. But you know what they say. All's fair in love and gang war. One of them frowns suspiciously as I jog past with my headphones in and no music playing. I feel his eyes follow me down the street, but he says nothing. I relax after a minute and finally reach my car, getting in. Things are fine. What are the odds that any of them are going to want to tail me back to Brooklyn just because of a funny feeling?
Chapter 12. Tina.
I wake up screaming from my usual nightmare, and this time, there's no Jimmy there to comfort me. Confused and then hurt, I roll over and look around. He's gone, his clothes are gone. Heart sinking, I move to the window and see that all the lights in his house are out. It shouldn't bother me. We both wanted to be intimate. We didn't say anything about his staying the night. We didn't say anything about any kind of ongoing relationship. We really didn't say anything at all. But the ache I feel inside of me as I shower off just won't go away. He's my first, and I'm trying to keep my head on straight about it. But it's not easy. In fact, I feel like I'm going to start crying as I get dressed. I know I can't sleep again tonight. My emotions are out of line. I have no business having any real expectations of him besides things like treating me right in bed and not stealing my stuff. And he's already done so much. I drag me and my aching heart downstairs, planning to look at my garden in the moonlight. That is real, just as what Jimmy did to my body is real. I can see my grandmother's roses and apple trees again. It's not some sign that Jimmy was just using me, that he didn't choose to stay the night. But I wish he had. I mope around for a while, heading upstairs to check social media on my laptop. This time, instead of just deleting the inappropriate photos and reporting the senders, I lose my patience. I copy and paste a message I've crafted just for them. You're completely out of line. I run a professional business, and thanks to people like you who can't respect boundaries, I spend my time managing harassment instead of work. I'm reporting you to Instagram. Goodbye. It's 3 a.m, and unbelievably, I still get replies. Mostly complaining. I thought you'd be into it, sad face. Just need help relaxing, babe. Send something back. You pretend you're not interested, but I know you like it. I shake my head, sigh, block, report, and screenshot all 3 of them, and am finishing up when I hear a car drive up outside. I jump up and run to the street side window, and see Jimmy's nondescript blue sedan pulling up in front of his brownstone. My heart leaps. He gets out yawning, looks up at my window, and smiles. I wave to him excitedly, but I don't think he sees me. Instead, he pulls out a 6-pack of beer and a bag from one of the only late-night groceries around, shuts his door, and starts walking up my steps. He was just out for food and beer. He planned to come back all along. Beaming, I run down the stairs in my nightgown, headed for the front door to let him in. For some reason, he doesn't knock or come to the door. Confused, I move forward and look out the nearest window. He stopped halfway up the stairs. Did he forget something? I open the door for him, smiling widely. Jimmy. Hey, I thought you had left. He looks back at me quickly, startled, and I see his face is pale and his eyes full of warning. Baby, get back inside, he starts. Hey, jerk. The voice shouts from down on the sidewalk behind him, and he turns quickly, dropping his groceries. The beer shatters, sending foam and shards of glass down the steps. I can't see what's going on, but he suddenly shoves me back through the door, hard enough to send me sliding on my butt into the next room. A loud noise sounds at the same time, but I'm so shocked I barely hear it. I let out a startled squeak, sore butt tingling, and start to yell at him, when I see 2 bullet holes in the door right where I was standing. Jimmy is mid-spin, reaching under his jacket. I see a bullet hole in the hem. His hand draws back and pulls out an enormous black pistol, with a strange cylinder fastened to the end of it. What in the world? I clap both hands over my mouth, and watch as he fires twice at whoever is at the bottom of the stairs. The gun lets out low thumps instead of loud reports. I hear a gurgling cry and then a thud. Jimmy stands there panting and then lowers the gun. He turns to me, and past him I see a crumpled figure on the ground, hand still loosely gripping a smaller pistol. Oh gosh, I think as my guts turn to ice water. He just killed someone right in front of me, who was trying to kill him. Why was someone trying to kill him? Why does Jimmy have a huge, silenced gun tucked under his jacket? Jimmy? I whisper, breathless with disbelief. His face falls and he shakes his head, putting the gun away. He looks back at his ruined groceries, then sighs and steps forward to offer a hand. I shrink back away from him. Who is he? What the hell did he just do? He winces and takes a step back. Tina, baby. You just killed somebody right in front of me. And you were ready for it. My voice is a thin whisper, but from his tight expression I can tell he can hear me. Who are you? What are you? Can we talk about this inside? He says in an almost pleading tone, catching me off guard. I realize suddenly that the more we talk outside, the more likely the neighbors will notice. The one unsilenced gunshot could be chalked off to a car backfiring, but ongoing drama afterward? I stare at him as I get up, wanting more than anything to slam the door in his face, or maybe throw myself at his feet and beg him to tell me that this was all some kind of bizarre, entirely fake prank. Tears roll down my cheeks, which makes him wince again. Can I trust you? I whisper. He goes very quiet, as if he doesn't know the answer himself. Then he reaches for me again. I shake my head. No. Please. Go away. Please just leave me alone. I slam the door in his face and lock it, run for the stairs, lock the steel door at its top behind me, and throw myself on my bed sobbing.
Chapter 13. Jimmy.
The next 3 days are some of the most hellish in my life. Not just because Ezio had to help me do an emergency cleanup right in front of my house. Not just because the DiLorenzos were on the warpath now that Grace was dead. But because my little peeping Tina is gone. She's gone without being gone. She's locked up in her house. Now and again, one of her guys brings groceries over. The trash gets taken out, and at night I see lights over there, but she hasn't left. Not once. I did this. I messed up. I should have left her alone. Now she's gone, and hurt, and worst of all of it is that she walked away with my heart in her pocket. I can't stop thinking about her. I managed to find the right girl for me and lose her, all in the span of one single damn night. I don't know what to do. This is the one thing I can't go to my uncle about. She knows too much, and I know the rules. He might send me to kill her. I can't risk that, so I don't tell him. The cleaners got the body out of there before anyone noticed it, along with the second car that I had not noticed driving because, hooray for irony, I was busy thinking of Tina. I still half expected the police to show up at my door after the first day, but Tina didn't call them. The days crawled. I worked and slept and watched Tina's house for signs of life. And every damn day that went by, the hurt and the sick feeling in my stomach got worse. But life goes on, even when you don't want it to. I have to keep in shape. I have to keep alert for any further trouble. And I have to figure out what excuse I could possibly give Ezio if Tina decides to blab about what she has seen. I go out on the 4th morning since Tina slammed the door in my face. I strip down and go through my exercises as usual. Now and again, I glance up at the windows of the sunroom, hoping that I will see a small, curvy shape hiding behind the thin gauze curtains, but I don't. I double my normal routine, pushing myself well beyond pain, punishing my body for my crimes. Crimes against Tina mainly, whom I wish every hour of every day that things had gone differently with. Against myself for making so many mistakes, even if my heart was in the right place. And against that punk who shattered my chance at something good with a burst of bullets. I'm bathed in sweat by the time I'm done. My limbs are slack with exhaustion and I'm ready for a shower. I look up again, just in case, and see Tina standing there in that same purple dress. She hasn't been sleeping. I can tell that from where I'm standing. Her eyes are sunken, her skin is pale, and as she lays her slim hand against the glass longingly, I turn and look up at her openly, wishing I could cross the distance between us. She hesitates, but then steps back into the darkness, out of sight. My heart sinks and I sigh. I want her back badly. I want my chance back. But will she ever allow it? 4 days become 5 and 5 become 6. I drink too much. I work out in the mornings. She watches. Then she goes back inside and doesn't call me or knock on my door. But she still hasn't called the police. I can't touch another woman while I'm waiting for her. I come to realize it as I look up at her staring down at me on the 8th morning. I was bringing home women almost every night for a month before this, but now I don't even go down to the club. There's just no point. I'll only be thinking of Tina anyway. I'm drinking hard on the 8th night. I don't even care anymore. Bourbon and beer, too much of both. I get it in my head to visit her. The night air slaps my face coolly as I step out onto my porch. I know right away that the booze is giving me stupid ideas, but I keep walking anyway. Down the stairs. Down the sidewalk. Up her stairs. Up to her door. Don't do this, I tell myself. You're drunk. You will make a fool of yourself. Except I'm already a fool. And I'm here recognizing that, and begging for her mercy, which she will need to have a lot of once she has the whole truth. I knock on the door and brace myself. After over a minute, she finally comes up to the other side. For a moment, I expect her to see me through the peephole and immediately hurry away, refusing me again. The possibility twists a knife in my gut. I square my shoulders, taking a deep breath, and wait. Then the door unlocks. My eyes widen, and when she finally opens the door and looks up at me, I have no idea what to say. She seems to understand. Or maybe she's having trouble with words herself. Whichever it is, after a moment, she steps back to let me in. Not one to question my good luck, I step in after her and close the door behind us.
Chapter 14. Tina.
I'm not supposed to tell you about my job, he says slowly as we sit in my now finished living room. The new cream leather couch under him creaks softly as he sits across from me. I curl into the matching recliner and watch him quietly, for now. In fact, if I did, it could get us both killed. Why? No one would believe me even if I told the police, which I wasn't going to do anyway. My voice comes out a sigh. The last week has been a haze. The nightmares about my father have faded, but they've been replaced by something just as haunting, dreams of Jimmy. I keep reliving that night, the warmth of his embrace, the way his kiss seemed to erase the world around us. I remember how it felt to be close to him, to be seen and held like that. It was overwhelming and electric, like something inside me had finally awakened. Now, I miss him more than I want to admit. But I don't call. I can't. So I drift through the days in silence, trying to keep busy with small tasks, though nothing really holds my focus. I cry more than I care to acknowledge. And every night, I fall asleep hoping the dreams will bring him back to me, if only for a little while. You don't think they would believe you? That's a surprise, and then it isn't. When I was 10, I shot a man wearing a wolf mask with a pistol just like yours, I say, voice steady despite the storm behind my ribs. He'd been hurting kids in our neighborhood. I didn't know it was my father under the mask. I just knew he was coming for me next. I pause, forcing myself to breathe. I'd found out where they kept the gun. Started sleeping with it in my room. When he came through my door, I didn't think. I just pulled the trigger. I swallow hard, the weight of it all pressing against my throat. But I hold his gaze. They called me a killer. Wanted to try me as an adult. The police, the courts, even my own mother turned her back on me. I went through hell. My voice drops, bitter and quiet. I've never called the cops since. I don't trust them. If it were up to me, I'd carry a gun now, no hesitation. I'd rather protect myself than ever rely on them again. I can get you a gun, he volunteers quickly. I know he's trying to make things right, but I wince anyway. His face falls slightly. Sorry. I know you're not law enforcement. I chew my lip as I look at him. Even spooks don't have shootouts with mysterious men in the middle of a New York neighborhood. No, he admits. They don't. So you don't ever call cops? Cops have never made anything better in my life. I can't keep the bitterness out of my voice, and he nods in sympathy. Then, who do you go to for justice? If not the system? He keeps gazing at me longingly, and it makes my knees squeeze together. I don't have anyone I can go to. I'm an outsider. They made sure of that. I struggle with words, trying to explain. Trying to explain why he doesn't need to fear me, or any ability that I have to expose him. But do I need to fear him? I could fix that too. Even though he's clearly had too much to drink, I can still sense his hesitation. If you want it. I know he's talking about some mob boss somewhere, the same sort that runs almost every city on the East Coast. I spent a week thinking about this. About you. About what I've been through. And yeah, maybe it's best you don't give me details about your job. I don't want you getting in trouble. But I look back at him, thoughtful, tired, and craving his touch again with every fiber of my being. He stares back at me, licking his lips, that puppy dog longing in his dark eyes again. I miss you. I miss you too, baby. I miss you like air. Is there any chance at all for me, or should I be packing up and moving out of the neighborhood? I can't look up at your window every morning and not want you. Those eyes. My vision blurs with tears and I smile through them. Everyone thought I was a monster. A lot of them still do. My mother hates me. Keeps saying my dad was innocent, and I killed him for no reason. So I can't just think you're a monster without giving you a chance to explain. He goes quiet, and then looks back up at me. My uncle Ezio's not in landscaping. I work for him. It's probably better not to ask too many questions even if you keep secrets well. You could be, dragged into things. Which is why I didn't go near you for a long time. He flashes a rueful grin. Not that I didn't want to. I've been watching you for months. He's making me blush again. He sees it and hope rises in his eyes. Look, he says slowly. I'm drunk and I'm a jerk and I do things wrong. All I know is, when I was with you, none of those things happened. I was just happy being with you, that's all. I wanted to see where that went. I still want it. He kills people for a living. Probably for some mob boss. I would never quite know where he is, or what he is up to when it comes to his job. But that's for both our protection. And if he's such a monster, why do I feel safe around him? Why is he kind to me? You make me feel things I've never felt, I say breathlessly. I can't just ignore that. He scoops me into his arms and kisses me, putting everything into it, so that I'm dizzy by the end. There's a plea in that kiss and a promise. He's drunk, but it only makes him more honest and more vulnerable. I know he's telling the truth. And maybe I really am crazy, but after a lifetime of everything reversed, the monster father, the hateful mother, the lawman who tried to arrest a child, and the press that chose spectacle over truth, maybe one last contradiction is exactly what I need. He pushed me out of the way of 2 bullets, and he shot the man who would have killed us both. Can a killer be noble? If a father can be a monster, then why not? When the kiss breaks, I feel a weight lift from me, the sudden freedom leaving me almost giddy. I give him a tiny smile. There's just one condition. His eyebrows raise. What is that? No more bringing your work home with you. Okay, honey. There's a warning behind those words, but I smile with good humor, and after a moment he chuckles. I promise, he says, before leaning down to kiss me again.
The end. Sneak peek for a billionaire's treasure. We hope you enjoyed listening to Filthy Neighbor by Michelle Love and Scarlett King. Now please listen to a sneak peek for A Billionaire's Treasure by Michelle Love. A Billionaire's Treasure, an alpha billionaire romance. Lola.
I began to feel very drawn to Arson as he started his presentation. Despite being in college, I hadn't met any other guy who had that certain type of confidence he did. I examined how he walked with his back straight and chin up, the way he spoke slowly, making sure every word was articulate, and how his eye contact burned holes straight through anyone's head. He was the perfect guy if I wanted one. I quickly shook away the lustful thoughts and started to take notes. He went into detail about how to market your novels for the age group you want to sell to, and that's where I struggled with my work, trying to make someone want my book in their home. Arson also owned a line of hotels nationwide named after himself, the Lockhart. I wasn't interested in any of that, though. The fact that this man was a novelist was really attractive to me. He told us about his daily routine and how strict he was with time for his employees. It showed how ruthless he was when it came to his work. He was stern and didn't play with his work. He was a man who knew what he wanted and got it. What was this feeling? I fanned myself lightly and continued taking notes. A half hour went by, and the presentation was over. When Arson went around to hand out his business card whenever we needed to contact him, his smile melted the hearts of all female students. I fell victim to this feeling, but would never let that be known. When he handed me the card, we made eye contact, and I felt tingling throughout my body. He winked and I was taken aback, feeling attracted but confused. I guess he noticed because he chuckled and moved on to the next row of students. What was that? Arabella asked, smiling. He was totally just flirting with you. I rolled my eyes and pulled my bag over my shoulder. You're over-analyzing things, Bella. You like him. Her eyes widened with excitement as she stared at me. I raised an eyebrow to mask my nervousness and stood up from my seat. I need coffee, I said, and left the room quickly. I'm not sure how a simple gesture could get me to crack like that, but it was strange, and I had never felt that before. I rushed out of the class and straight to the coffee shop to clear my mind. I started to think about Arson again as I waited in line. His suit was so nice, form-fitting without a single piece of lint. His hair was so dark and his gray eyes were piercing. Hello. What can I get for you? I heard faintly in my head. That confused me, but I ignored it. Excuse me? I snapped back into reality and realized the barista was trying to get my attention. I laughed softly. Sorry about that. 1 large cup of vanilla hazelnut coffee, please. The barista put in my order and then told me my price. I heard a familiar voice as I looked through my bag for my wallet. I've got it, and add another large coffee. Black. I saw a man extend his arm, handing the barista a black card. Her eyes lit up at seeing him, and my body tensed up. All of my feelings from just 10 minutes ago came rushing back when I turned to see Arson standing next to me, with a smirk on his face. You didn't, I spoke lightly, then cleared my throat. You didn't have to. I wanted to, so I did. He chuckled and took his coffee from the barista, and I did the same. Let's talk. My eyes widened, and he chuckled again and walked away to a table in the corner. Taking a deep breath, I followed him to the table and sat in front of him. You're not afraid? I asked. Of? He furrowed his eyebrows. Being out in public without some sort of bodyguard or protection. You know, being a billionaire and all. I took a sip of my coffee and almost moaned as the warm liquid rushed down through my chest. I have nothing to be scared of. He trailed off, not knowing my name. Lola, I stated simply and stuck my hand out to shake his. He grabbed my hand and placed a kiss on it. I heard a girl gasp from the table behind us, and I rolled my eyes. Too much? He asked, referring to the kiss. I shook my head in disagreement. Girls here are annoying sometimes, but why did you want to speak with me? He smiled and took a sip of his coffee. He licked his lips, and that made my stomach full of butterflies. I saw you taking notes, and I wanted to ask you what you thought about my seminar. Arson Lockhart cares what I think? I questioned and smiled lightly. I do. He smiled and drank more of his coffee. So tell me, Lola, what did you think? I really admire how hardworking and dedicated you are. I pushed my hair back behind my ear. Actually, can I interview you the next time you're available? Sure. What will this interview be about? He leaned back in his seat and crossed his hands. You, and what made you want to become a novelist? I stared into his eyes as he nodded. I should be free next Tuesday around 3. I'll tell my assistant. Don't be late, Lola. And with that, he stood from his seat and left. I just sat there, not knowing what to do really. I was confused about why he decided to leave so abruptly, but after a few minutes, I shook away the thought and went on about my day. I grabbed my coffee and returned to my suite, which I shared with Annabella. When I arrived, she was sitting on the couch waiting for me with a smile. Why are you looking at me like that? I chuckled and took off my jacket, hanging it on the coat rack. I saw you and Mr. Lockhart at the coffee shop. You totally have a thing for him, Lola? I plopped down on the couch beside her and kicked off my shoes. Why do you think I have a thing for him? We only spoke for like 5 minutes. I pulled my feet up and looked over at her. That's the reason, Lola? You never give any guy, I cut her off. He's not a guy. He's a man. So what if I talk to him? That doesn't mean I like him. You never give any guy or man the attention to even have a 5-minute conversation. You're a high and by type of girl, Annabella smiled. It's good that you say you don't like him, because he's too old for you anyway. Too old? I thought to myself. I'm a grown woman. I can date anyone I want, however old. I mentally rolled my eyes and flashed Annabella a fake small smile. Yeah. I guess you're right. 3 days of normal activities went by, and it was finally Tuesday. For some reason, I wanted to wear something that would catch his eye, so I decided on a black button-down, a black skirt that hugged my waist and hips, and a pair of red heels. I did my makeup neutral with bold dark brown lips. I straightened my hair and smiled at myself in the mirror. If this look didn't grab his attention, I didn't know what would. When I walked out of the bathroom, Annabelle's mouth dropped. Where are you going? You look so good. My interview with Arson is today. I smiled and grabbed my bag from the couch. See you later, babes. I could feel her watching me in disbelief as I left, but I shrugged it off. As I walked toward my car, many guys looked my way or tried to talk to me, but I only wanted Arson's attention. I hadn't been interested in a guy since I'd been in college, so developing feelings for someone was new to me, like learning how to walk again. I pulled up to his office. It was a place I had always seen but had never thought to research, since this wasn't where I was from. When I walked through the huge glass doors, my heels clicked against the marble floors. That sound made me feel bold for some reason and helped me stay focused. I was here for an interview, not to fall into the arms of Arson Lockhart. The walls had big, beautiful paintings on each wall. The Lockhart was written on the wall behind the front desk. Although it was a big building, I felt as if I belonged. Like this was the place I needed to be.
Arson.
He's straight through the doors, I heard my assistant say from afar. I turned from my view of the city to see Lola sitting there, looking as beautiful as ever. I was shocked. She looked completely different from the girl with the jeans, sneakers, and ponytail she'd been in when I first saw her. I smirked and sat down at my desk. "Hi, Mr. Lockhart. How are you today?" She sat in front of me with a smile and her notebook in hand. I watched as she opened it and wrote something down. She looked back up at me, confused as to why I was staring at her, but I just chuckled and leaned back in my chair. "I'm doing great, Lola. How are you?" I stood and walked to the front of my desk, leaning against it. I looked down at her in her chair and finished before she could speak. "Let me guess. I'm doing well, Lockhart, and I'm looking very beautiful as well." I mimicked her voice and laughed. She cleared her throat uncomfortably and shifted in her seat. "Good. Actually, Mr. Lockhart, I was going to say I'm doing fine." She looked me directly in the eyes with a straight face. I laughed. She couldn't possibly be serious right now. Who knew she couldn't take a joke? Scoffing, I grabbed a cigar from my desk and lit it. "Well, what are your questions?" "For one, I wanted to know what inspired you to become a novelist." She looked down at her book, ready to write. Her nails were painted beige, and her hands looked soothing and slightly glossed from the lotion she had used. "Since I was young, I've loved reading, so by the time I was 17, I had written my first book. It was never published, but I've been extremely passionate about writing since then. It's all I've ever wanted to do with my life, so I turned it into a career. Now look at me, a billionaire." I laughed and took a drag from my cigar. I love talking about myself. It's not so much of a cocky thing to do. I'm just very confident, and talking about myself helps remind me of how I made it to the top on my own. "Great," she spoke, writing down what I'd just said in her notes. "And how long have you been writing, Mr. Lockhart?" 20 years. I returned to my seat. Published my first book when I was 22 years old. I saw her eyes widen slightly, but she continued to write. Her bracelets clanked together softly, and her hair fell on her face. She was so beautiful. I wanted her in my life. There was a silence in the room, and the air grew thick. I decided to lighten the mood a bit. "How old are you, Lola?" "I'm 21, Mr. Lockhart." She kept her eyes on her notes, but I could see her face turning red. "Do you want to be a novelist?" I asked, and she nodded. She finally looked up at me and spoke. "I do, Mr. Lockhart." "Call me Arson," I told her. "How badly do you want to be a novelist? How hard are you willing to work for it? It's not as easy as you may think. You can't just write a book and get it published. It's much more than that. It's hard to catch the reader's eye these days, and this field is competitive since most people read on their electronics. To get to the top, you have to be the best and never stop working until you get what you want." She sat there in shock, not doing anything. She had completely stopped writing and just stared at me. She was startled, and I could see it all over her face. "Let me mentor you, Lola." I smiled and leaned forward on my desk. "Okay, Mr. Arson." She shifted in her chair again and wrote something down in her book. I could see her begin to turn red in the face again. "Every Tuesday, same time." I stood up and fixed my tie. "I'll show you out." She looked at me, confused, and stood up, following me toward the door. Before she could fully exit, I grabbed her hand and kissed it. She furrowed her eyebrows and continued walking. I couldn't afford to be around her too long, or I might grab her and kiss her. She was gorgeous, standing at 5'6" with a perfect curvy figure and long black hair. Her freckles were like constellations, and her lips were pouty and desirable. There was no doubt in my mind that she was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen in my life, and I had to have her. I didn't mean to come onto her too strongly. I guessed that she just needed time to get comfortable around me. She seemed stubborn about who she gave her attention, which attracted me the most. I'd be a fool to let her slip through my fingertips.
Lola.
He did it again, cutting our meetings off short, as if there wasn't work that needed to be done. I rolled my eyes at the thought of it and got in my car. I didn't understand him. The interview went well until he just went on a rampage about what it was like being a novelist. I appreciated the advice, I really did, but I didn't expect all of that at that very moment. I didn't expect the kiss he left on my hand before leaving. Although that was a very interesting experience, I am happy that he asked to be my mentor. I needed someone like him to help me get where I needed to be. The only problem with that plan will be trying to focus on my work with him breathing down the side of my neck. I felt like I would melt right in his office, but showing extreme affection too early with a guy can turn him off or give him the leverage to use you. When I returned to my suite, I thought of ways to avoid Annabella, but luckily she wasn't there. All I could do was lie in bed and think of arson. I hadn't felt the weight of a crush in years, and it made me feel like an irresponsible schoolgirl again. There was just something about the way he talked. His voice almost struck fear into my heart. Those bold eyes and pink lips. That slender body in that dark suit. I felt myself getting hot and breathing heavily, so I had to take my mind off the thought of him quickly. I rolled over on my side and pulled my laptop onto my bed. I opened it, and the last piece of writing I was working on appeared on the screen. It was titled Daisies and Apricot. It was a short story I had written about my past partner, who always brought me daisies and apricot-scented body scrubs. As I read over it, I thought that I would come across some similarities between my ex-boyfriend and arson to give me a little hint as to why I was so attracted to him, but that wasn't the case. Arson was the exact opposite. He was challenging. All of my past boyfriends were very sweet and possessive. Their personalities fit so well with my dominant behavior. They all fell to my knees when they saw me, but Arson Lockhart was different. He saw me and felt attracted, but he didn't fall to my knees like the rest of them. He remained strong and determined. That's what attracted me the most about him. I was so used to being around childish little boys that I thought being over 18 made them real men, but Arson was a real man. Strong, hardworking, dedicated, and stern, all while being confident. He had everything he wanted in the palm of his hand, and he could control people however he pleased. Except for me, of course. I liked him too, but I wasn't that easy. I was a tough cookie who took a while to be cracked, so if he thought he could have me falling to my knees in a couple of days, he had another thing coming. I smiled, closing my laptop and putting it on my bedside table. I had a man who had my dream job and also had a thing for me. Why not use this to my advantage? I took one red rose and one white rose from the vase on my desk and carried them to the bathroom with me. I needed some time to relax and to also care for my skin, so I ran a warm bath and added the petals from the roses, pink salt, and a few drops of lavender oil. When I first put a foot in, I felt the warm water kiss my skin, which automatically put me at ease. I played my favorite album on my phone and just relaxed. This was everything that I needed. I was about 3 songs in when my phone began to ring. I dried off my hands on a small towel and picked up my phone to see who it was. My eyes widened at the name on the screen. Arson Lockhart. What was he doing calling me after our meeting? Hopefully, it was to tell me why he ended our session so quickly. I hesitated a little, then answered. For some reason, hearing his deep voice on the other line felt really good. Hello, Lola, he spoke, not saying anything else. Hello, Arson. Is there anything I can help you with? I'm trying out this new restaurant tonight, and I want you to come with me. Well, Mr. Lockhart, He cut me off. I'll pay for everything, and you can ask me any other questions you were going to ask earlier today. I guess dinner wouldn't hurt. I trailed off and sat up in the tub. It wouldn't, so I'll pick you up at 7:30. I'm wearing a navy blue suit, so work around that. And before I could even get a word out, he hung up. I guessed I was going on a date. I sat there genuinely confused and turned on, but I quickly shook off the thought and began to wash off. When I returned to my room, I looked in my closet and thought, what do you wear on a date with a billionaire? I had to look like arm candy. Arson Lockhart wouldn't just go out with any girl. It was 6:30, so I just laid out my clothes and started on something else to pass the time. I decided on a simple black dress that hugged my curves, with a pair of heels. I straightened my hair and put on light makeup, but I wore bold red lips. Where are you going tonight? I heard Annabella speak from the door. Out, I replied simply. Yeah, sure, Lola. Have fun with Mr. Billionaire. She chuckled and walked away. I didn't know what upset her about my going out with an older man, but I was a grown woman. If I wanted to date someone much older, I had every right to. I rolled my eyes at her remark and walked to the bed to slip on my dress. I felt so beautiful with it on. I never wore it because my mind was too focused on my studies to go on dates. All my life consisted of was writing. I remember that when I was around 18 or 19, I knew how to balance being a party girl and still getting everything done that I needed to do. That sadly wasn't enough for me though. I wasn't reaching as much success as I wanted, so I completely cut out partying and having fun at the age of 20, and here I am today. I was 21 years old and had butterflies before going on a date. There was nothing wrong with that. I just always thought life would turn out differently for me. That may be why I was so open with Arson. It might not seem like it on his end, but I didn't usually give guys the time of day, so he was lucky. I felt he could be that missing excitement I needed in my life. I was just so used to being by myself without any distractions. I wasn't sure if a relationship was what I needed right now, but I was willing to try it out. My phone lit up, showing a text from Arson. It said he was outside, and his driver was waiting for me. I laughed a little and slid on my shoes. I didn't even know why I expected a billionaire to drive himself to a restaurant. I made it outside and saw the driver open the back door. I kindly thanked him and got inside. Arson sat, watching me get in the car with a smile on his face. His teeth were the whitest I'd ever seen. All of his teeth were so perfectly straight that it was mesmerizing. You look stunning, he spoke. Thank you. You look good as well, Arson. I blushed slightly. The ride there was lovely. I saw the view of downtown at night while music played softly in the background. The air was fresh while blowing through my hair. I felt like my 19-year-old self again. I heard a chuckle and turned to see Arson watching me. Having fun there? He smiled. And for the first time, I smiled back. I am. I'm feeling a bit nostalgic. I understand. He nodded. Go out with me more often, and you could feel this all of the time. The smirk on his face made my stomach drop. As pleasing as that offer sounds, I'll have to see how the rest of the night goes before I make a decision. He shrugged with a smirk on his face and turned to face the window as we pulled up to the front of the restaurant. I waited for the driver to open my door and thanked him after. I looked up at the big white letters. The Crystal Room, Arson spoke, reading my mind. He grabbed my hand, causing me to tense up and pull my hand away. It's okay, Lola. I don't bite. I nodded and he grabbed my hand. At least not too hard, I heard him mumble as we walked in.
Arson.
I watched as her body moved swiftly in that dress. She was the most gorgeous girl I'd ever laid eyes on. I liked a woman with curves, long hair, and an attitude. I was determined to make her mine. "Hello, Mr. Lockhart. Your table is this way." We followed the waitress to our secluded table upstairs on the balcony and took our seats. I ordered us some wine and watched as she looked over the menu. "See anything you like?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "Not really." She closed her menu and sat back in her seat. "Order for me." I smirked and looked at the waitress, who had begun pouring our wine into our glasses. "Are you ready to order, sir?" She smiled down at me. "We are," Lola stated loudly. The waitress jumped at Lola's stern voice, and I chuckled. She clearly wasn't expecting her to be that bold. Lola seemed a bit protective over me, but I liked it. I scanned my eyes over the menu and decided on what we were having. "We'll both have the steak and lobster dinner with mashed potatoes on the side." "See, coming right up." The waitress spoke as she collected our menus and walked away. "Jealous?" I asked Lola as I took a sip of my wine. "I could never be jealous, sweetheart. Look at me." She smiled and took a sip of her wine as well. "I just don't like being disrespected. I deserve just as much respect as you do." That turned me on, the way she thought so highly of herself. I just wanted to tear that little piece of fabric right off, but I had respect for her. A strong, beautiful woman like herself took time and patience, but I was sure I'd get her to crack soon. "I want to know more about you, Lola. Have you always wanted to be a novelist?" I folded both hands together and leaned back in my seat. Since I was about 7, I knew I wanted to write. Every other day, I'd try to write a new story or start reading a new book to get inspired. My life revolved around it. She took another sip of her wine and licked a drop off her bottom lip. "There was never anything else you wanted to do?" I raised an eyebrow. She nodded. "There were, and I did them. I took ballet for a couple of years. I used to sketch, and I'm a pretty amazing cook. I also wanted to be a chef, but those just became hobbies over the years. I knew I wanted writing to be my career." "Ballet, huh?" I smiled. "Explains why you have such strong and beautiful legs. I'd love you to taste your cooking one day, since you've bragged about your talents. You'd be amazed." She smiled and ran her finger around the brim of her glass. "This wine is amazing. So smooth and opulent. You want a bottle to take home?" I asked. "I sure do." She smiled widely. "Thank you." Just then, the waitress came back with our plates. The food looked delicious, almost as delicious as Lola. Usually, the girls I dated would light up at the expensive meal before them, but it was like she was completely used to this. Has she dated rich, older men before? I shook the thought and asked the waitress for another bottle to take back home. She politely told me she'd wrap it and put it in a bag for us. I nodded and turned my attention back to Lola, who was cutting into her steak. Seeing the fork slide between her lips after a bite was sensual. "Is the night going well for you?" I asked, staring into her eyes. "Wonderful," she stated with a smile and continued to eat. "Maybe we could do this again tomorrow night." "Sounds lovely, Arson, but I'd like the next time we see each other to be at our next meeting." She poured herself another glass of wine. "I have a lot of work to do, and I would love to be undistracted." "Oh." I cleared my throat. I'd never been turned down. I was starting to wonder if she even liked me. I began eating my food. "I would like to do this again, though." She smiled and continued eating. "Then we shall." I wiped my mouth clean and smirked. "Arson Lockhart, I'm going to make you pay," a woman screamed as she charged toward me. She started hitting me, shouting that I had destroyed her family and taken her husband from her. Lola looked stunned, but quickly stepped in to pull the woman away, just as workers hurried over to see what was happening. I grabbed my phone and called my driver. "Get out front of the restaurant now," I ordered. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Lockhart," a random woman said to me, as she tried to clean off the food that the woman had spilled on my clothes while going crazy. "I'm the manager, and I'm not sure why this would happen." You should work on your establishment if you're going to let crazy people like that inside a place like this. I looked at her, then over at Lola, who took the extra bottle of wine from the waitress. I quickly grabbed her free hand and dragged her out of there. We quickly got inside of the car, and the driver sped off. What was all of that about? Lola asked. I have no idea. I've never seen that woman a day in my life. I shrugged and turned to look out of the window. I knew exactly who that woman and her husband were, but that was none of her business. I heard her sigh deeply and adjust herself to face the window. She probably didn't want to go out with me again, but I would make sure that she did.
Lola.
That was one of the weirdest things I'd ever encountered, and the fact that Arson knew absolutely nothing about the situation seemed very fishy to me. I loved the feeling of being taken out and shown off, but not if things like that were going to be happening. I wondered if he was hiding something. Why do you think she'd do that? Throw an entire fit in front of everyone, claiming that she'd want to kill you in a public restaurant, and why would she accuse you of killing her husband? I unlocked my phone to text Annabella to tell her that I was coming home and didn't have my key. Simply because I am a billionaire, Lola. People will do anything to get their hands on my money, even if that means accusing me of false crimes. I don't even have the time to hurt some random man. He scoffed. I guess you're right, I agreed and looked out the window the entire ride back. When we pulled up to my dorm, I called Annabella, but there was no reply. Let me walk you to your door, Arson offered with a smile. No, it's okay. I've got it. I laughed slightly and proceeded to step out of the car until I felt him pulling me back by my hand. What? You think I'm really going to hurt you? He smirked, locking eyes with me. A shiver ran through me. His tone was darker, more serious than teasing. And no, you can walk me there, I said quickly, pulling my hand away and getting out of the car. I was in such a blank state of mind that I forgot to thank the driver. Here's your wine, Arson said, walking around the car and handing me the bag. I nodded slightly, then led him to the building and my door. I knocked a few times, but there was no answer. I tried calling a few times, but there was still no answer. You're always welcome to stay with me for the night, Arson offered. There was a solid 10 seconds of silence before I even replied. I had to think seriously. Do I really want to stay with this man after he has made several romantic advantages, or do I want to sleep outside in the hall until Annabella realizes I'm here? I turned to him slowly and laughed. You promise you won't hurt me? I'll try not to. He threw his head back and let out a loud chuckle that made me jump. His arm slid around my lower back, and he walked me back outside to his car. The cart ride back to his place was long and silent. The only sounds were the wind and soft music playing in the background. I felt like something would happen tonight, but I just couldn't put my finger on it. We pulled into the driveway of his house, and it was luxurious. This was the first time I had seen something like it. Plants were everywhere, and I could see the pool view upon entering. The driver exited and opened our doors, wishing us a good night, and Arson led me into his home. This place is so beautiful. I looked around at the fiery red furniture and black decor. Almost as beautiful as you, Lola. Follow me. He led me to the clear doors of his elevator. Let's get you into something more comfortable. What did you have in mind? I raised an eyebrow. Nothing too serious. My daughter is a little younger than you. She comes to visit time from time, so I always have new clothes here for her to sleep in, he laughed. She's a little smaller than you, but I don't think there's anything that you can't sleep in. When we made it upstairs, it was just as huge as the downstairs. A long marble-floored hallway led to what I suspected was his bedroom, because it was the biggest. Upon entering, I saw the biggest bed I'd ever seen in my life with black silk sheets. Wait here while I go get you something to put on. He winked and then left the room. I wasn't sure how to feel about that. I was just happy to take these shoes off. I sat on the edge of his bed and kicked off my heels. I found a small hair tie in my clutch and pulled my hair into a high ponytail. I looked around the room. It was minimalistic but still very opulent. "I found this for you," Arson spoke, and my head snapped in his direction. He closed the door behind him and walked over to me. He handed me a champagne-colored silk nightgown. He unbuttoned his shirt and walked into the bathroom attached to his room. "Where can I change?" I asked him. "Right there." He peeked his head out of the bathroom. "Don't be afraid. I won't look." I heard him laugh as I hurried to change out of my dress and into the new one. When I slipped off my bra, I turned and caught him walking out of the bathroom wearing only his boxers. For an older man, he had a surprisingly great body. I quickly pushed away the wandering thoughts and just stared. He noticed my shocked expression and glanced down at my body with a smirk. I looked down and realized I was standing there in just my underwear. The air in the room suddenly felt heavy, and I grabbed the gown to cover myself. I didn't have a bad figure, but for some reason, I felt embarrassed and uncomfortable. I'd only known him a couple of days, and it didn't feel like the right time to be this exposed, especially since I wanted to wait for a moment like this with Arsen if it ever came. "Lola, you don't have to hide from me," he said softly. "We're both old enough to be comfortable with each other." He walked past me, picked up my clothes from the floor and placed them neatly on a chair by his desk. Then he looked back at me again. "Where will I be sleeping?" I tried changing the subject to take away from the awkwardness. "With me, hopefully," he responded. "I respect whatever boundaries you have. I haven't slept beside a beautiful woman in a long time." I nodded slowly, not wanting to put up a fight, and climbed into bed. He turned off the light and got into bed next to me. Directly across the room was a huge floor-to-ceiling window, and the curtains were pulled back completely. There was a beautiful view of not only the moon and stars, but of the city as well. I could see almost every building that was well lit, and that alone made me feel safe. The light from outside made it easier to see around the room, and to see that Arsen was staring at me, staring at the view. I looked over at him and smiled. "The view is beautiful. Thanks for letting me experience this. Anytime you want to see it, let me know." He ran his hand over my thigh, and it drove me crazy. "You know, Lola, I've wanted you ever since I've laid eyes on you." "I'm well aware, Arsen," I replied bluntly, trying not to say too much. "Well, do you feel the same way?" I felt him move a little closer to me. "Maybe," I smirked and rolled over on my side. I felt him pull me back so my body touched his, and his hand grazed my leg. "So why aren't we doing anything about that?" His hand slipped between my thighs, and I began to melt, but I wasn't going to let him know that he had full control of my body. I pulled his hand away and laughed lightly. "Good night, Arsen Lockhart." I felt like the connection was there. "I guess not." He spoke quietly. He moved back away from me and turned over. "Whenever you're ready, Lola, just let me know." Again, I smiled to myself. "Good night, Arsen Lockhart." I woke up to a mist of water on my face. "Wake up, Angel." I sat up and rubbed my eyes to see a woman standing with a food tray over me. "What was that you sprayed on my face? It feels refreshing." "Rosewater, ma'am. Mr. Lockhart ordered that we wake you up beautifully with a nice breakfast." I smiled, closing my eyes and inhaling the smell of pancakes. The woman placed the food tray on my lap, and I automatically dug in. It was like nothing I'd ever tasted before, although it was a simple meal: pancakes, eggs, and bacon with a cup of tea and a bowl of fruit. "Mr. Lockhart had to leave early for work, but he says you are welcome to stay here until he gets home. He left you an outfit at the end of the bed, and if you are ready to leave before he gets home, just let me know and I'll phone the driver." The woman smiled and left the room without saying anything else. Who would have expected Arsen to let me stay after things didn't go as planned last night? I guessed he really liked me. After eating, I set the tray of food aside and slid out of bed, grabbing the clothes left for me. I walked to the bathroom and saw the most beautiful shower I had ever seen. The shower head was the entire ceiling, and the doors to the shower were clear with a gold trim. I was in love. I took off my clothes and hopped inside. I turned on the shower, and the water fell on me like the mist of a rainforest. I looked at the shelf built into the shower and saw all the beautiful body wash and shampoo bottles. I helped myself to do whatever I needed and got myself cleaned up. I grabbed the 2 folded towels and dried my body and hair. After taking the best shower of my life, I put on the dark jeans and fitted shirt he had left me. These hugged my body, so he picked them out for a reason. I walked back to his room and texted him, asking if I could check my email on his computer. While waiting for his reply, I walked around the upstairs of the house and eventually found his daughter's bedroom. She looked just like him, gorgeous and model-like. I saw why her clothes were too tight on me. She looked around 17 or 18. I wondered if she knew her dad liked girls a couple of years older than her. I saw a picture of a woman who seemed to be her mom. I wondered what the relationship between her and Arsen was like, and why they weren't still together. I shrugged away the thought and explored more of the house, and then Arsen finally texted back and told me that I could use the computer. I continued my exploration down the hall and into another room, which was just full of plants and a different computer from the one in his room. For some reason, I felt the urge to use this one. I sat at the desk and turned it on. To my surprise, there was no password on it. I logged into my email as an extra account because I didn't know if I should sign out of Arsen's. I clicked through a few messages and saw that classes were canceled today, which was good on my part. I was going to skip them anyway. I felt tempted to switch over to Arsen's account and see what an actual novelist's inbox consisted of. So I did it. I scrolled through several spam messages and emails for upcoming book events until I saw something interesting. A read message was titled, "I am going to kill you, Arsen Lockhart." It reminded me of the crazy woman from the night before, so I opened it to see what it was about. Dear Arsen Lockhart, I knew about this whole little business you and your rich friends were running, and I had nothing to say about it because it didn't affect me that much, but you have crossed the line. Michael was a kind, loving man and father of 3, who was just doing what he had to do to provide for his family, and you go off and kill him? He had a life. Whether he had your stupid drug money on time, he still had a life and a family, and you took that away. You took him away from us. Now what are we going to do? He was the one who made a living for us. Either you give me $5 million, or I will kill you, Arsen Lockhart. I will sabotage your entire drug cartel and make your life a living hell. I quickly exited the email. My heart was beating extremely fast. I knew Arsen was hiding something by how he reacted last night, but I didn't know it was a drug cartel. I didn't know that he would kill someone. I shut off the computer and stood up. I turned to leave and saw Arsen standing at the doorway. "Hello, Lola," he said sternly.
End of sneak peek for A Billionaire's Treasure, an alpha billionaire romance. Please like and subscribe to support this channel, it helps more than you know.